Okay, everybody, it is Sunday, March 19th. I have 1 o'clock my time, Pacific Standard Time. And I want anybody in the live feed who's just now joining us, let me know if the feed quality is okay. I like to check before we really get into anything because, of course, my internet seems to be having problems. And I found out what it is. It's not the computer by any means or anything like that. What it is I got so many people where I'm staying that are using the computer at the exact same time. So it just sucks up the bandwidth. And that's kind of what's been going on, especially at night. But they're not here right now or not using it because they're playing like games like on Xbox and stuff. So I found out that was really sucking up the bandwidth. So it should be really, really good now. But anyways, we got a little treat today. We have somebody named, I'm going to mispronounce this.
Actually spelled it wrong. Sorry. It's supposed to be hilarious.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought that, you know what? And I've been calling you Hilarious, but I didn't want to butcher your name. So can I call you Halrious Zulu?
Yeah. How do you change it on the Google Plus? Because I've been trying to change my username, but it's not changing.
What's funny is you can't. What you can do is you can do a pseudonym. You can do like a screen name, or it shows up, but you can't change your actual name.
Oh man!
But you can change how it appears to other people. You just go into your YouTube settings or your G Plus settings, and this thing called oh my goodness, what's it called? I don't remember. I'll tell you what. I'll figure it out, and I'll tell you later. Okay.
Yeah, cheers.
I looked into it before because I was going to do it in my name. I was going to change it to Great Debate Community, but then the reason I didn't was because it changes everything over, and it still has the original email. It just would be awfully confusing. But anyways, people are asking in the live feed about the debate. That is next Sunday, not this Sunday, guys. I still have a lot of work on my presentation. I'm about 80% done, but I'm taking a break from it because I've been, working on that quite a bit. So anyways, what we're going to do today, Halrious has actually decided to actually take us up on a challenge because I said, I have a little thing called the Hovind challenge where I can show step by step that Hovind's wrong, and especially the fact that he knowingly put some misinformation into his creationist handbook and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go step by step through this, and then if he wants to bring up any other claims, he's more than welcome to. But I put the link to the references we're going to be using in the video description. One is called The Arrival of the Fittest, which is Hovind's Creationist Handbook number 9. And then I put the stratigraphic and unglaciated Central Alaska paper 863, I believe. But anyways, that's a citation. So Zulu, thank you for joining us. Hi.
Hi.
He's British, so he kind of sounds Brit. But anyways, so I want you to look at The Arrival of the Fittest if you follow along with me. Can you look at page 55?
Okay, hold on.
Mm.
Have you sent me the link? Have you sent me the link?
Oh, it's in the I put it in the internal. I can put it in the external too if you like.
I'm using my phone.
I will put in the external for you. 1 second. Then Drew CS, I'll get you in too. So that is the one of them, and then this is the other one. So I'm putting this in the external for you guys. And then Drew, I'll invite you. Okay. Just let me know when you pull up. Can you pull up? Well, it's a PDF, but you should be able to pull up on a phone.
Yeah, I'm downloading it.
Okay. Now this is his handbook. I mean, this is literally right off of his source material stuff.
Yeah, I'm on it. It's in my notebook.
Okay, so if you open to page 55, not of the PDF, but actually of the book itself.
Okay.
And again, I've talked to Hovind about this before. So this is not something he actually says I'm wrong on. He just says he can't go back and change it. But this is a beginning of the downfall of young Earth creationism as far as Hovind's things. But every one of his claims I can debunk. Every one, starting from these. His science ones, at least. I don't do the theological ones. I leave that for general. So let me know when you're on page 55.
I'm on it.
Okay, so everybody else could follow along as well. Some of you guys have actually done this with us before. Some of you guys haven't. Okay, do you notice the middle part where it says, quote, 1 part Dima, baby frozen mammoth, was 40,000, and another part was 26,000, and the wool, the wood immediately around the carcass was 9 to 10,000. And the citation is the quaternary stratigraphic nomenclature in unglaciated Central Alaska, paper 862, which I've included to your links. So you can look through that too. Did you notice that claim? It's in the middle.
I'm not really scientific.
Right. You don't have to be. This is you know what? You don't even have to know anything about these topics. Trust me. This is purely just how bad his citations are because he didn't really want to bother to verify this stuff. This was before the age of the internet, so people didn't have this information readily available. Right now that we have the information readily available, we can look at each individual claim that he has and realize he's wrong in every single one of them.
I mean,
So,
if it's Ken Hovind, I mean, I disagree with things he says about the Sabbath, and so I don't take him.
sure.
I don't put him on a high pedestal to say, oh, whatever Ken Hovind says is correct. I don't really use Ken Hovind.
Okay. Well, other young Earth creationists have used these claims as well, though. So it gives you an idea that the claims themselves are wrong. But let's look at this. So you see where it says 1 part beta Dima, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. If you like to look through that paper that I've included, the paper 862, you can read the whole thing if you like. You're never going to find the words baby Dima or anything of the sort. This citation is not in there. Matter of fact, if you go look at Google, baby Dima wasn't discovered until 1977, and it was discovered in Siberia. This citation is 1975 in Alaska. So how did he cite something that wasn't even found until 2 years later?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really agree with Ken Hovind, but yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you can, and by the way, follow along. Search for baby Dima. Type in when was baby Dima discovered. You'll find it's 1977. Nobody argues that. But again, he said he can't go back and change it. But unfortunately, he ran with this particular thing for several decades. This was, and it's still in his presentation. Matter of fact, it's still in the videos that he has. He hasn't removed it. So he knows it's wrong. He still promotes it. And then the next one, where it says the lower leg of the Fairbanks Creek mammoth had a radiocarbon age of 15,380 RCY. See that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Ironically, that one actually is in the quaternary stratigraphic nomenclature in unglaciated central Alaska. That one's actually in there, believe it or not. Now, it's not in Nature Deep Freezes. That's just a citation of a citation. But the problem with that one is if you open up the Geological Survey paper, you'll find that was actually 2 different mammoths found 8 years apart in a totally different location. And he just combined them together. And one of them actually had been soaked in glycerin, and therefore it was invalid because the dating was tainted because it was organic. Again, brought it to his attention. He says he can't go back and change it, but still, he ran with these things for quite some time. I mean, this booklet is quite some time old, and his new ones have not rectified this. So he still promotes this stuff. And if you want to see on the page, it's on page 30 of the Geological Survey paper. If you want to open that one, page 30, you'll see that there's 2 different mammoths. One was found in 1940, and that was found in 1948. If you want to check it out.
Okay.
What the hell's going on?
Oh, we're having a young Earth creationist talk about young Earth creationism and showing him how exactly people get lied to in young Earth creationism.
Oh man, who is this? Halrious Zulu? Is that the person?
Yeah, it's Halrious Zulu. You remember him, don't you?
No.
Nice kid. No, he's a nice kid.
I don't remember him.
All right, so if you look at, do you want to open up the paper for 33? Do you want to see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm going back on the PDF. It's hard to do this on mobile.
I know, PDFs suck on mobile. What you're gonna have to do is you have to look on page 30, not of the PDF, but of the paper itself, and you also see the 2 dates that you're talked about. One is very near the bottom. It was found with Beaver Dam. It said hide soaked in glycerin by collector, date invalid, ? That one was discovered in 1948.
Did you say 30? Page 30, sorry.
Yes, of the not the PDF, but of the actual paper.
You've got to look at the page number on the paper itself rather than the PDF page number.
Yeah, I know. Is it ice core evidence?
There's now the table is table 4, radiocarbon dates from Central Alaska.
What?
It says page 30 in the corner.
It's
page 36 of the PDF.
Okay. Oh yeah, I see that.
Okay. So down at the bottom, you'll see the dates they talked about. One of them is the 2100, 3000. That one, if you look at the date it was entered, which is the 5th column over, was 1948. Okay. The other entry is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7. Let's see here. Where's the other one?
You see, true Steve can count.
Well, I'm trying to find the other entry. I know it's on this page, but it's such small writing. Oh, here we go. 15,380 frozen silt, 260 meters below the surface. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the bottom. It says flesh from the lower leg. Osborne entry 1940. So those are the two dates that he gives: 15,380 and 21,300 from two different mammoths. One was found below the surface. The other one was found at Deep Beaver Dam. Completely two different mammoths. And he's been promoting this misinformation that carbon dating doesn't work by saying, oh, look, here's a radiometric journal that radiometrically dated two parts of the same mammoth thousands of years apart. And that never happened. And he was corrected about this about 10 years ago, too, before he went to prison. And, of course, he still didn't correct it. I'm not the first person to point this out by any means. I just detailed it very well in my video.
Hey, Steve, do you realize that you're outnumbered in this room now by theists?
I usually am. Not surprising. Yeah. Yeah, I'm agnostic, so I'm usually outnumbered wherever I'm at. Unless Hannah's in the room with me, I'm always outnumbered.
Goddamn fence sitter.
Somebody, Lamed says, how do we know this guy's not a troll? No, actually, I've talked to Halrious before. He's not a troll. He's a very sincere guy. And he seems to be wanting to be intellectually honest. I don't see any kind of him trying to be purposely dishonest. So that's why I wanted to invite him to have a conversation and talk about this stuff.
I made that point, Halrious, just so you realised are actually what the scales are. Because at the moment, the only atheist in the room is Drag. Steve's agnostic. General's obviously theist, and I'm a theist.
Yeah, so you're not outnumbered by any means. Well, you are because none of us are Christians, though.
I mean, not everyone here is Christian, but
actually, well, General is. Drew's is a pagan, but Wayne wanted to come in, and he's a Christian if he comes in. But anybody who wants to come in can come in. I'm pretty much. All they guys just ask me for the link, but I do check every so often. But anyway, so you kind of agree that those two claims are completely crap, right? Or are you still looking at him?
Steve, I was just wondering, is it okay if Antonio can come in? Would you actually let him, or?
Antonio can come in anytime he wants, but he won't. Antonio wants
if he wants to come in, will you let him?
Anybody but G-Man and G Conscious. Anybody with the name that starts with a G. I'm just going to ban anybody that starts with the name G besides General. That's special pleading, I know.
Yeah, Antonio got invited. I was looking at the list. His name's on there.
Yeah, I don't block anybody. I'm serious. The only reason, and everybody knows the only reason I blocked G-Man is because of his damn bullhorn. However, hey Wayne, you need feedback. I will try one more time. I will tell you what right here now. G-Man actually says, I swear in the name of my religion, whatever, that I will never use a bullhorn in your hangout again. Then he's welcome to come in.
He actually, I will say this. G-Man actually did apologize to me publicly and privately about the bullhorn thing he did last time, and I believe he did an apology to Jade as well. So,
not for me.
To some level, he is remorseful for that. But I think if you were to confront him about that, he would.
All he has to do is say, I'm sorry, it won't happen again, I promise, kind of thing, and I'll trust him on it. That's it. Nothing more. I won't even bring it up again.
Yeah. So I think just to be fair, because I know folks are under the impression that for some reason hate G-Man. I don't. I was going to make an announcement. I'm actually going to be seeing him next month in New York. But I'll talk more about that later.
You guys make a cute couple, actually.
I was going to ask, is it a date? But
yeah. You're gonna take it to Popeyes? And that was not a racial thing. Anyways, wandering, motherfuckers.
We are going to eat chicken together. That's definitely going to happen.
Popeyes is a reference to
almost envious. I want to eat chicken too. But anyways, all right. So, I mean, let's get back to the thing here. Yes, by the way, I don't care who comes in here. I want to have an open hangout. So I don't want to limit anybody unless you're an actual troll, right? There are some people we know just troll. Like Darwin just loves to troll, right? I still probably let Darwin's in, but he's still a troll. But anyways, so did you see these entries? And can you see that the claim that the radiometric dating was of two different mammoths, not the same one? And so Hovind was completely wrong.
Can I ask, Halrious, how old do you think the Earth is?
Well, I don't really know the exact age, but I'm guessing around like 6,000, 7,000 years old.
So are you following sort of like Bishop's Bishop Ussher's chronology?
No, it's Seventh-day Adventism.
Yeah,
Ellen G. White. Yeah, but they follow Ussher's chronology.
yeah.
Because basically what it is we've basically calculated from the beginning of time using all the dates in the Bible to where we are now.
Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna take a divergence real quick because I wanted to talk about the science, but since you brought that up, General's going to explain to you why that's completely wrong. Because the words they use in the Bible for generations do not tell us that it was literally generation to generation, and that's where Bishop Ussher made his chronology mistakes.
He didn't speak Hebrew. He only spoke Greek and Latin.
So,
and
General, are you there?
English.
Because General is a biblical.
Basically, if you're going to take Genesis 5 as a literal chronology, the numbers, that doesn't make any sense because the numbers there fit a base 60 number system pattern, which is a Sumerian number system. And so basically they're associated with certain symbolic things like Enoch's age is 365. Well, that's the solar year. Methuselah's age 969. That relates down to 153. That's a number that John uses at the end of John. 153 fish are captured. So it's a Christian saw it as a resurrection number. So if you look at the list, in the ones place, the common value of 0, 2, and 5 are everywhere. And those values constitute a base 60 number system, not a base 10 number system.
Base 6.
So Sumerian mathematics.
Hexadecimal.
Since Ussher was completely unaware of that, naturally then any form of, from Adam onwards, that type of dating is, just goes out the water, like out the window. It makes no sense. And a final point. When you look at the book of Chronicles has starting with Adam. Guess what the chronicler does? He doesn't include the dates. All he does is he mentions the names, and that should give you a hint. So I'll just leave it at that.
And a couple other things about the Sumerians. That's where we get 12 hours, 24 hours for a day. It's where we get the 365 for a year.
Right.
They're the people that set up the 12 signs of the zodiac. So it's hugely influential, and it's a bit of sort of history or archaeology that's well worth reading. And obviously we didn't find the clay tablets until well after Bishop Ussher was dead.
Well, let's ask Halrious. I've given two examples of bad claims using science, using radiometric dating, and I can go through each one. But how about you provide us what you think is a claim, and then maybe we can address it, because you did with the dating, and I think General kind of addressed that, obviously. But do you have any kind of claim that where you can say, okay, I think the age of the Earth is, scientifically speaking, between 6,000 or 10,000 years old, because not just the fact that you are a Seventh-day Adventist? Because I'm kind of curious of what physical evidence you think will indicate a young Earth, because I literally have none.
I mean, I would have to.
I'm not exaggerating.
I mean, I didn't really come prepared with any evidence, but from what I know and what I can find, I know that if you look at the way the world works and how we dig up things, and for example, how we're finding fresh flesh on mammoths, and how you can see.
Sorry, Larry. Just on the mammoth thing, we have. It's kind of like a folky tale that we found mammoths where you can actually have mammoth steak off them. We found a lot of mammoths who were basically deep frozen.
Yeah.
And those ones did survive. If you freeze anything and keep it at consistent frozen temperature, it will maintain the integrity of the flesh for a very, very long time.
Those up to 100,000 years, I think, some of them.
But it's certainly, it again, it's all about the condition in which it's buried in. So I'll give you, two really good examples. If you go to the Atacama deserts in Peru, We find incredibly well-preserved mummies, and that's because it's very arid, it's very dry, and it's very cold most of the time. So there's no chance for the flesh to actually decay. You go to Indonesia, and you're lucky if a corpse will maintain solid. You know, you can measure from corpse to skeleton is weeks.
And Drews does do archaeology. That's his thing, is archaeology.
That's my thing. Yeah. Which is why you find very little, good archaeology of, bodies in that part of the world. And again, a third example is if you look at, you're from the UK, aren't you? Hilarious.
He is. Hilarious, you still there?
Yeah, I'm using my phone. I have to keep muting and doing
sorry.
this.
Oh,
Yeah,
fine.
I'll just leave it on.
So you know that we found people that have been buried in peat bogs, and they come out really well preserved. You can go to the British Museum, and you can see them there. Or you can go to the London Museum and see them there. And that's because of the fact that yes, it's wet, yes, it's buried, but it's water that doesn't have any oxygen in it. So therefore, none of the microbes and the bacteria can work to digest and decompose the flesh. So the flesh remains on the bodies.
Mm.
Yeah, I think the point being is there's nothing in science that says that these things can't last. You can't have flesh a million or 100,000 years. I mean, if there's nothing microbial or some kind of enzyme to break this stuff down, and it's hermetically sealed, and it's arid environment, and it's anaerobic, some time. We've known this for ages. So
yeah, can I show you some evidence?
Oh, please. That's what you're here for.
Yeah, I'm reading this website. I'm gonna give you the 10 top points for evidence for young Earth. The first one is very little sediment on the sea floor. The second one is bent rock layers. The third one is soft.
Let's take one at a time, if we can, because that way we just don't get overloaded.
All right. So the first one was very little sediment on the sea floor, and yeah.
Hey, what about that indicates a young Earth?
And well, from here it says the deep sea floor sediment, biblical. It's the Sounds of Time, a biblical model of deep sea floor sediment. Sedimentation. It says here, modern day evolutionism requires that the Earth be very old. One line of evidence cited is the length of time required to deposit the observed thickness of seafloor sediments far from any direct continental source. Using the low current dispositional rates results in a minimum age of tens of millions of years. The model of disposition presented in this paper differs from the conventional model primarily in the rate of disposition, which is asserted to have peaked at an enormous level during and after the biblical flood, and is presumed to have fallen at an exponential rate to the present low level. Because biblical evidence strongly supports a short historical period between the flood and the present, the shape of the decay curve is very steep. Data from the Deep Sea Drilling Project, DSDP, were reinterpreted for this paper by estimating the thickness of sediment corresponding to the interval and asserting a set of boundary conditions. An analytical model is presented that estimates the age of sediment from a particular depth at a given borehole. Sorry. If the modern evolutionary model of disposition is correct, the water temperature evidenced by fossils would show only small random variations. If a catastrophic event such as the flood occurred, temporary warming of the water immediately after the catastrophic should have occurred and may be detectable. Fossil evidence of water temperature at the time of disposition is believed by some researchers to correlate with the ratio of oxygen isotopes of mass 16 and 18, because foraminifera are common. Shall I just give you the link? Sorry.
Well, no, I'm familiar with the link. I'm letting you finish because I mean, we're going to ask you questions about this because if you're, I mean, are you familiar with what sediment deposition means and what the rates are and what are taken into account? Because this is based on what his name was Humphreys, who came up with this about evidence for young Earth, which we can explain to you in detail why it's not, which we're going to do here. But I'm letting you give the entire claim. But first, I mean, do you understand what the sedimentation rates is? And we're going to explain to you why Humphreys went wrong.
Kind of. I mean, it's talking about the levels of floor on the seabed and the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually said that he thought that the sediment should have this nice even distribution across the continental shelf. Okay, but he doesn't take into account this thing called plate tectonics. And plate tectonics has something called subduction zones. And what these subduction zones are places where the landmass goes underneath the continental shelf. Okay, this takes sediment along with it. Okay, so if you actually factor in the fact that these subduction zones will remove a lot of the top layer of the sediment, that you do not have a constant distribution of sediment, that you're going to have some accumulating faster than others. Matter of fact, I was curious. The actual sedimentation rate, according to this last report I have, is 1.6 millimeters per year. Okay, and that's in line with using what's called a constant flux. Okay, using isotropic methods, which is basically radiometric. This one uses polonium-210. Okay, so we can tell by what the sedimentation rate is by the amount of radioactivity from the lead in there, right? The lead-210. So Humphrey's basically saying that, that these plates, as you have these continental shelves, you should have this nice even sediment, and it should, to him, be much, much deeper than it is, right? Because you have accumulation building up. And in his mind's eye, if it builds up the sediment, you should have these nice, thick layers of sediment. But no, you don't, because, again, you have some of the sediment being removed by subduction.
You also have some of the sediment being carried along by things like, the deep sea currents, which is also going to have an effect on that.
Yeah,
because that's the whole point. Where again, you live in the UK, Hilarious. You go to any seashore and you look at where barnacles actually grow, and where barnacles grow is where the waves will actually bring, good food to them. And it's the same if you go to the deep sea.
Yep, and it could just dissolve
through.
Too.
Yeah,
right. Sediment could just be dissolve into the ocean and go away. So why there's not a thicker layer of sediment is actually well known. I mean, that there's a reason for it, right? His
kind of reminds me of the moon dust argument.
It's not as bad as the moon dust. The moon dust argument was actually based on earlier models, and they corrected those models. And some young Earth creation sites still use it, but other ones like creation.com says no, they've already changed these models. We can't use this anymore. So,
Yeah. So the next one was. Can I move on to the next one?
Oh yeah. Your call, bud.
So the next one is bent rock layers.
Okay.
So the source says this is from Andrew A. Snelling.
Yes, and I just talked to him last week. Matter of fact.
Oh.
I got an email from. I sent an email to him last week, and he talks to her so often. But
and it says,
I know who Snelling is. Mm-hmm.
And it says here, if the global flood described in Genesis 7 and 8 really occurred, what evidence would we expect to find? Wouldn't we expect to find rock layers all over the earth that are filled with billions of dead animals and plants that were rapidly buried and fossiled in sand, mud, and lime? Yes, that is exactly what we find. It says, this article concludes, it says here, the fossil bearing geologic record consists of tens of thousands of feet of sedimentary layers. Though not all these layers are found everywhere around the globe, and their thickness varies from place to place, at most locations only a small portion is available to view, such as about 4,500 feet of strata in the walls of the Grand Canyon. Long age geologists believe that these sedimentary geologists believe that these sedimentary layers were disposed and deformed over the past 500 million years. If it really did take millions of years, then individual sediment layers would have been disposed slowly and the sequences would have been laid down sporadically. Sporadically. I don't know these words. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sporadically.
But they're talking about there's different things. Ever heard of what's called an unconformity? Specifically, what's called a paraconformity.
I've actually got a really simple example for this one. Would you say this is, if you get a whole lot of stuff and you mix it up in water like a big flood, and then you let it settle, things tend to settle by mass. So you get lighter stuff at the top, heavier stuff at the bottom. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah.
Why do you know? So a Stegosaurus and an African bull elephant pretty much weigh about the same. We've never found one of those next to another. In fact, we've never found an elephant at the same geological layer that we would see dinosaurs.
Yep, and we've never found any of the older dinosaurs, and I don't mean like modern birds.
As an aside, Hogtie wishes to speak on this topic.
As an aside, we don't care.
I shall grant the floor.
Yeah, it's funny. Let's Hogtie, because Hogtie, didn't you just recently post something from Aaron Robb, where Aaron Robb brings this up again, when I think it was Ron, he had said that we do find prehistoric dinosaurs above the KT boundary, which he never supported.
Oh, that, yeah. No, and to clarify, no, I don't have much to say about it. What I was suggesting through my message to you, Steve, and then I just posted in the side chat. We, as you suggested, Steve, we can address these sort of one at a time. So I'd kind of prefer you guys go ahead with this issue about the folded rock, about the layers. And then I have sort of a
sure. Well, there is, what's funny is the argument for the youngest creation is that rocks don't bend. Yet we have something called folds. Folds are bended rock. Rock can definitely bend under high pressure, high temperature. We can see these folds. We have numerous examples of these folds.
If I were to add something to it, yeah, I would recommend. So Aaron just did a video very recently. It would probably be the most recent or second most recent video on his channel. And it was funny because in that video, Aaron had said about how we don't find, he incorrectly said, we don't find dinosaurs above the KT iridium layer, which is imprecise because we don't find large dinosaurs above the KT iridium layer. We do find other dinosaurs like owls and chickens and ostriches, which are dinosaurs.
That's why I said prehistoric. I was like clarifying that.
That's funny. Well, I had to bug him.
I know you're gonna get like Mighty Capuchin. Isaiah's gonna be like, oh, we find birds. They're dinosaurs, Steve. Yes, I know that.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny. It's funny to me because my son is 7 and he and Aaron have met, and it's just funny to me that Aaron is somebody who will make that point that, for example, when we lay out a bunch of these plastic dinosaurs, well, there's your Stegosaurus and there's your Triceratops and then there's a Pteranodon but a Pteranodon isn't a dinosaur, right? And my son knows this. If you say, well, look at all those dinosaurs, I say, well, those are dinosaurs, but that one isn't. That's a Pteranodon. Those are not dinosaurs. And he will point out when we have chicken for supper. He's correcting me now. Quetzalcoatlus is not a dinosaur, right? He's on my case now. If we have chicken for supper, he will say, oh. What?
You're right.
What? Yeah. And then if we have chicken for supper, he says, "Oh, good. I love having dinosaur for supper because technically, all of the Gallus."
Popeyes has the best dinosaur around, man.
It's barbecue dinosaur, yeah. But so it's funny. I had to sort of teach. But in mentioning that, what it was what he said that you don't find humans below the KT iridium layer, and you don't find dinosaurs above, and it was just funny because a couple of years ago on the Magic Sandwich Show, I was making that same point, and True Empiricism had come in and said that I was 100% completely wrong about that. So we've been asking him for proof for some time that we're finding humans below the iridium layer. But anyway, just to return to this topic.
He has yet to provide that, by the way.
What's that?
Yet to provide that.
Yet to provide it, yeah. And I think there's an annotation on that video that says we're still waiting for. We'll add an annotation here once we get that evidence from True Empiricism. The only thing I would add about this issue, and there's a great image on the screen of it right now of rock layers being bent. I will say all materials are plastic at length. And I don't mean they turn into plastic like the yellow and orange plastic that they make kids' toys out of. I mean that plastic meaning flexible. So even concrete, for example, obviously when you try to bend it, it'll break. But at length, it'll flex significantly. And this is not a contentious or disputed point. How rock layers bend, it's a system when there's a lot of, as I think it was a Drag who just said it. Somebody else just said it. But there's heat and
pressure and
temperature. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's.
Let me come in before the next reading of another proof.
Hogtie, if I may.
It's just simple material deformation, right? I mean, there's different layers of stress, right? And you have a bending, and then you have a breaking, and these rocks will bend because they're pliable at high temperatures.
I think we should refer to them as being malleable. And I mean, I'm not just trying to be pedantic, but because
Steve, my hands up.
Malleable is
yes,
clay.
sir, without the head.
Yes, I can actually give you an example of how rock layers have, or at least bedrock, has been bent or malformed due to pressure. Around the Great Lakes Basin, during the Ice Age, the glaciers depressed the North American continent. Now that the glaciers are gone, this area now is going through continental rebound and is now popping back up. And this can be observed and felt through small earthquakes.
There you go.
Welcome to San Francisco.
I'm not in San Francisco. I said the Great Lakes. I said the Great Lakes Basin.
No, I know.
But anyways, yeah, that kind of like, in a nutshell, I mean, again, the people that are making these claims originally, they're definitely not taking into a lot of things into account. And I find it odd that they said something like rocks doesn't bend. I mean, that's kind of very basic. That's almost up there like Steve Austin saying that, oh, the formation of the thing in Mount St. Helens, the canyon that's formed is similar to forming the Grand Canyon when it's pyroclastic flow, not rock strata. That's just as bad. I mean, that's just somebody going, okay, you know what, I'm just going to say this and see if somebody who doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about is going to believe it, kind of thing.
Isn't there a place up in Washington State called is it Boulderland or something?
Yes.
And it's
about little
Wisconsin ice cap dam basically bursting and gazillions of gallons of water rushing down from the sort of Washington State down towards, is it Oregon next? I can never remember. Yeah, it is Oregon. And that's a really good example of a rapid geological formation through water. And that's a great thing to compare against what you see at the Grand Canyon.
Who wanted to say
can I
something?
I just wanted to show how Halrious.
Hilarious.
He misspelled it. We're going to figure out how to fix it for him at some point.
So
no, he did that because it was funny.
So this top image here, if the creation took place in 1 week, and all the species that's ever existed that we see in the fossil record, that they all were created in 1 week, including humans. So very simply then, if there is a global flood layer, everything to be jumbled up together, whereas that's we don't even see this. So if you can find human remains, way down next to dinosaur remains, then you will win like a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, I mean, we would expect, to see a bunch of mixture of stuff, right? I mean, if all this stuff happened at once, we would expect to see all these things as jumbled up and one big mess. But we don't. We can actually say, hey, here's what species is this? Okay, you know what? It's probably gonna be this amount of feet down. Find the species below something else. We just don't, unless there's been some kind of catastrophic, event, where you can tell if there's an earthquake or something. But other than that, normally we can tell. We can say, look, we don't find this type of dinosaur below the KT boundary. This doesn't happen. There's a reason for that, because they didn't live after the time of the KT boundary, right? They lived prior to that, and so any remnants that we find is going to be lower than the iridium that completely encircles the entire Earth.
So
does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. At the basal layer, if you can find.
Can I ask you a question, General?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, go ahead.
Do you believe that Adam and Eve and people at the time were giants?
Nope, that is completely not the case. There's no evidence for giant.
Are you talking about like David and Goliath kind of thing? Because I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the people of Goliath considered to be? I mean, they were big for their size, like 6 foot something, right? Not like a gargantuan foot. But have you heard that before, General?
I know the
Nephilim territory, aren't you?
They were just a little bit larger than most people because they're average height of like 6'1" or something.
Yeah,
No,
six and a
even
half.
even before the Nephilim.
Yeah. So the argument is that Ken Hovind says that since there was a canopy around the Earth,
The high oxygen content.
that misunderstands the Carboniferous period of a higher oxygen, resulting in giantism to all creatures, specifically insects. So the Bible doesn't suggest that Noah.
Yes, it does. Noah was also a giant.
Again, you have to look into Second Temple Judaism to see the argument. The only argument for Noah's giantism is whether Noah was produced from the offspring of the Watchers or the Apkallu, which would be the that divine human intermingling. Otherwise, there's no natural that Noah was a giant.
Look at the side chart.
No, I've heard the Watchers. I've only heard of it as far as the Necronomicon. Which probably is biblically. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's some correlation. The Watchers who came from the Necronomicon, right? I mean, it did, right? So.
Okay, I have a just quick response back to Halrious.
Why are you laughing?
In all seriousness, have we ever found a human skeleton more than 9 foot tall?
Obviously, the size of humans have been decreasing over the years. But if you look at early findings, like you said, 9 feet, humans were tall and they were giants. The reason why
I got a point.
You're not gonna let me finish.
Yeah, but I'm next.
Okay. The reason why they were tall giants, because if you think about it, this is from a Christian worldview now. God created Adam. He was the first man. Do you think he's going to be a frail, small human being? This is the first human being from God, from the hands of God. So him being a giant isn't something that should be surprising. He was a giant. Him and his wife were a giant. The reason that we started to decrease in size after the flood because of there's mutations. We were eating animals. Because of sin as well. So our sizes started to decrease. Our health started to get worse. Sin actually started to really impact the earth even deeper.
None of this.
Well, the issue with
I'm next. Oh, okay. Then Halrious, can you explain then why through the Middle Ages and even earlier periods doors were shorter than they are now? But that's also pre-flood, so people would have gotten shorter, and now they're getting taller again.
Because we walked on our knees. No.
Can anybody explain that now, based on what he just said? Why are we now getting taller?
There's more evidence that they're shorter than larger, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's interesting. If you have a three-dimensional object, the taller you make it, you get 3 times as much volume.
Yeah,
you take. It's simple like anatomy and physiology. A 15-foot human would be crushed under its own weight. There'd be no way he could even stand up, much less have the heart to pump. I mean, his heart would have to literally pump. I want to say 1.5 times every second just to get enough blood. It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, there's a thing called Keebler's Law. You ever heard of that? Hilarious. Keebler's Law is basically a scale to show the amount of body weight as to the capacity of what the heart and the circulatory system can handle, or the metabolic rate. So these laws are saying that there has to be a proportionality, and this is why you don't see like elephants being 20 times bigger than they are, right? You don't see mice, the size of rhinoceros, right? There's a formula, there's a law.
Yeah, but that answers the question. That answers the question to why, how could dinosaurs live with humans? Look how tall Adam was. Look how strong he was. He was the first human being.
None of this from the Bible.
Look at the side chat. Look at the side chat. Genesis 6:4. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of man came into the daughters of men, they bare children to them. The same became mighty men which are old, of men of renown. there were giants in the earth in
But
those
that was
days.
not Adam.
Well, giants back then were like 6 feet tall, probably.
Oh
That
my
was a
gosh!
giant.
Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence that they were 6 feet tall?
Where's your
Where's your
evidence?
evidence?
Where's the
Yeah.
evidence that they're
Evidence,
6
can I
feet?
talk?
Yeah,
No,
go
but
ahead,
the
Daryl.
argument isn't to disprove my evidence. It's for me to show you.
Right. No, that's fine. And there's evidence of certain cultures, like there was the Canaanites. They were 6 foot something. But General is more apt to speak about that than anybody else. Let's let General address that real quick.
Yeah. So giantism again. Goliath. The Masoretic text has 9 feet for Goliath, but when you go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls and even further back, Goliath's height is actually 6.5 feet.
Oh, come on! Don't do that.
Which is,
and you call yourself a Christian.
Speak for yourself, Hilarious.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, he actually is a he's a well respected Christian, even among people that disagree with him. General is very well. Matter of fact, my debate's on his channel with True Empiricism, so even True has some kind of respect for him.
But we can agree that he did shoot first.
What? That was Han. Han Solo. Yeah, he shot first.
That was good.
Han did shoot first. There's no question about it.
No, they actually proved that. Anyway.
Yeah. You dirty bastard.
So
you were my hero.
The reason why the 9 foot value appears in the Masoretic text is due to a vowel pointing. Dead Sea Scroll, the Hebrew words in Dead Sea Scroll literature don't have vowel pointings. It's only it only appears in the Masoretic literature. So a Masorite appealing to legend with respect to the heroes of old sort of thing, changed the vowel pointing to make it 9 feet. Now, interestingly, the Quran has Adam as 90 feet.
Yeah, the Quran isn't real.
Yeah, but here's
what do you mean it's not real?
My argument.
I mean, it's a false. I
don't think it's anything about the Bible.
If you're going to say Adam is a giant, then you have to agree with the Quran. I'm saying Adam is not a giant, and obviously, therefore, the Quran is false. So you have to pick and choose which one you're going for.
I'm telling you, the Bible. I'm telling you, the Bible is saying people in those days were giants because they were.
Notice it doesn't give a figure as to how tall they were. The only time we see a figure given is with respect to people like Goliath.
Listen.
The Quran makes the audacious claim of 90 feet. Therefore, that's the first holy text to even make that point.
Did you say 90 or 9?
90.
90 feet?
Wait, we have a problem with zeros then?
Where does that, General?
I'll get the Quran verse for you.
Well, I know from the Bible that Adam was 15 feet.
I don't think that's even biologically
say that Adam is 15 feet.
Listen, because of sin, we've become
here we go.
Listen, because of sin, we've become more sick, we've become more weak.
That's okay, here's the problem you run into.
Adam is 15.
Hang on, we're talking about young Earth creation, which is supposed to be science. And once you start saying, well, this, and this, you're outside the realm of science anymore.
And okay, let me go on the science then. If you look at how much oxygen is in the atmosphere compared to how it was back in the day. If you look at the what's it called, ultraviolet rays, all these things are limiting and destroying our health, and it's making us weaker. Back in the day, it wasn't.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You're just kind of throwing this stuff out there. You're saying back in the day, but you're making assumptions that you haven't yet really given evidence. You're basically giving us your faith, not your scientific claims at this point.
Because I can tell you exactly what UVB radiation does to the human body. It does destroy folate, and that you need folate if you are a woman who is with a child. That folate is integral for the embryo to come to term, but if you are melanated, you are protected against that. But what ends up happening is the people who are outside the equator will find supplements for that folate. So I'm not sure how that has anything to do with someone's growth necessarily. I could see maybe calcium intake would play a role in that, since height is a multifactorial trait in human beings and many other organisms. So I kind of think that you're just kind of like throwing stuff out there.
No, they didn't have they didn't have GMO. They were walking everywhere. They were fit. They were eating fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Everything was much better back then. If you look at the world right now, I'm not even surprised why there's so much sickness and disease on this earth.
Okay, well, some of those sickness and diseases aren't caused by anything humans have done. Some of these are simply viruses. You can be as fit as you want to, but the Epstein-Barr virus will come around and kick you in the ass either way. It really doesn't matter.
What's funny is the average life expectancy is more greater now than it's ever have been.
Actually, there's an interesting fact. When we were hunter-gatherers, we had a longer lifespan than early agriculture. It's only in the last 200 years that the life expectancy has started to drastically extend again.
Yes, before that it was it was good. It's only the past few hundred years.
It's the fact that we can look back through archaeology and history, and we know pretty much how old people were when they died.
Yeah, we can look at their anatomical features and say, okay, this person was so old when they died. I mean.
So when I say hunter-gatherers lived a long time, they might live 40, 45 years as opposed to 28 to 35 years.
Back then.
Yeah. So we don't see this kind of thing. The thing I wanted to get back to is where in the Bible does it say that Adam is 15 feet tall? I've never seen that verse.
It's an estimation.
Where does the estimation come from?
Ellen White. Ellen White.
Yeah, Ellen White. So she, Ellen White claims she got all this from a dream. You do know this, right?
And most of the prophecies in it, and most of the prophecies in the dream, besides the great disappointment, actually happened.
Yeah, I mean, dreams are science.
According to the Bible, there are no more prophets.
She predicted one of the wars.
There are no more prophets from the New Testament onwards. There are no more prophets in Christianity.
Wasn't the canon closed per se for prophecy?
Yeah, because you go from being a prophet to being an apostle. That is one of the two things. And General, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is more your bag of tricks than mine.
And to make estimates, don't you need numbers? You need numbers to have an estimate.
No, what did Russ say?
It didn't. The Old Testament, New Testament, the Old Testament period closed off the era of prophecy, and the New Testament it became apostle.
Okay, can I read? Can I read it now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is from Ellen White. Well, this is part of his Ellen White. Part of it. I'll quote it when it's Ellen White. Okay, it says here, after the earth was created and the beasts upon it, the Father and the Son carried out their purpose, which was designed before the fall of Satan, to make man in their own image. They had wrought together in the creation of the earth and every living thing upon it. And now God said to his Son, let us make man in our image. As Adam came forth from the hand of his creator, he was a noble height and of beautiful symmetry. He was more than twice as tall as men now living upon the earth, and was well proportioned. His features were perfect and beautiful. His complexion was neither white nor sallow, but ruddy, glowing with the rich tint of health. Eve was not quite as tall as Adam. Her head reached a little above his shoulders. She too was noble, perfect in symmetry, and very beautiful. Even this does not give a specific height. It would depend on the height she referred to as of that of the men living upon the earth. Whether it was an average height or more toward the upper limits that she had in mind, it would also depend on how much more than twice as tall Adam was. Setting specific figures, then it is speculative. If you need to refer to this matter at all, it may be best to do this by using the words of Miss White and let it go at that. That is from the Redemption Story, page 20, chapter 20, page 21.
Okay, and that's her opinion based upon a dream. But how does that relate to what the actual Bible says?
No, because she quotes the Bible in many of her stories, and basically Ellen White, in her dreams, is very similar to the Bible. It's just that it's almost like she gets more detail within the story.
Or she just writes in a similar writing style.
No, she gets more detail about the story. So, for example, we didn't know in the Bible that we didn't know Adam's skin complexion in the Bible.
How do you know she's just not making all this up?
Yeah.
What's your critical thinking?
Okay, hold on, Steve. Now, you said that Adam's skin color was ruddy. What color
Yes.
is ruddy?
Really?
It's probably Middle Eastern olive, around, you know, when the skin, the hands turn red, the body like can turn red. Like, it's not white, but it's like ruddy. You can type it on the internet. I'm not really sure about the.
So you're really not sure what color ruddy is?
I thought ruddy was more like a terracotta type.
You ever seen a rusty penny?
Yeah, it's kind of a reddish brown.
Yeah,
It's what happens when an Englishman stands in the sun too long.
But
So like an Ethiopian. So like an Ethiopian.
Conclusions, though.
Would it be an Ethiopian? Like.
No,
Oh, hell no.
it wouldn't be.
No.
It's what happens
Black
basically
is
when
black.
pale white people get a very dark suntan.
Look almost olive. I think some
it's a very noticeable
It's
color.
not olive. It is more of a red. It's almost going into a sunburn.
But quick question: all this extra biblical evidence, where's the? How does this person come to the conclusion that Adam was double the height, or he was this skin color? Like where do we get?
That's the evidence. That's it.
How do we get?
Because God gave her this dream, and God was showing her all these things.
Yeah, can I just jump in here? The only time in history that you have any, like the first mention of Adam's height or anything close to it. So this is what I was getting at from the Bukhari hadith, Sahih Bukhari. So the Prophet, and this is Muhammad. I have to now wonder, where is Ellen G. White getting this from? Because the only time in history is you have it recorded apparently that Muhammad said that Allah created Adam, making him 60 cubits tall, so this would be 90 feet tall. When he created him, he said to him, go and greet that group of angels and listen to their reply, for it will be your greetings, salutation, and the greetings, and so on and so on. Now look what happens over here. Any person who will enter paradise will resemble Adam in appearance and figure. People have been decreasing in stature since Adam's creation. I find that curiously, a very similar phrase, a statement, that what Halrious has just said, that since Adam, people have been, decreasing in size. Well, the only time you'll ever see that phrase is in Islamic literature. You won't find it in Christian literature. You won't find it in Judaism literature, Second Temple literature.
So that's something that
only
most Christians generally don't hold to.
No Christian held to that. Like again,
it would also put Adam's weight somewhere around 96 to 120 stone.
Ask him to present evidence that Christians in the first century even thought this.
Can I answer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
And while you're answering, I would like to know too, was there contemporary evidence somewhere in the first or second century or prior of literature saying that there was, these types of large people? I mean, of the upwards of 50 to 90 feet large. Is there any contemporary evidence?
First of all, I do not agree with the Islamic view of Adam being 90 feet. So that's first. That's a first. Islam, I don't want to go deep into this because that's not what we're talking about, but the Hadith and all that, it's all false doctrine. I do not follow it. Second of all, you're addressing evidence. My question is, I'll ask General, as a Christian, I assume that you believe in all these prophets in the Bible. What makes you think that there cannot be any prophets in these generations? What makes you think there cannot be people that God can give dreams to, and that can be the next pioneers of this generation? What just because she wasn't around 2,000 years ago, why do you disprove her ultimately without having anything to base it on? Oh, because it's Ellen G. White. You need to give me evidence why I shouldn't trust her, first of all. Because I can find contradictions with the Mormons, I can find contradictions with all these other different prophets, but you haven't given me a reason not to believe in Ellen G. White, because she's been right about everything else.
Okay, so you need to demonstrate.
I got a counterpoint.
Wow.
Hang on, he asked it to General. Hang on.
Okay.
So
we're gonna do this the right way.
And Ellen G. White never contradicts the Bible. That's the first.
Okay. If Ellen G. White, if she's claiming to be a Christian, and you're also claiming to be Christian, and if you hold a high standard of a high view of the Bible, it says in regard, and don't forget, John's writing relatively late in the New Testament, and there's a reason why he's writing late, is because now that started to grow, and then the community started to grow, they were appealing to visions that resemble Ellen G. White's claims of visions. And what does John write in 1 John 2 and 1 John 4? Test the spirits so that they are telling the truth. So the mandate then is to do basically a scientific investigation. Is Ellen G. White not only alongside what the Bible's saying, but is she right in regards to natural history? If she's wrong, if she struck out one part, if she was living at the time of Moses, she would have been stoned to death. And so she has spoken wrong. She's not a prophet from God.
Can I ask you a question? You referred to the geographical, in historical evidence. If she doesn't, link or refer to that, what makes you think every single thing that we learn about his history is accurate? Have you ever heard of a thing called human error? Do you not believe that even in science there are some errors that always get revisited and rechanged? So
right,
when you,
that's you see, you have. So let me just go back to my presentation here. Just one moment.
I mean, everyone in the world thought the world was flat a few years ago. A few hundred years ago.
They didn't. That was something that was particular to. We actually found out the world. We actually calculated the diameter of the world about 320 BC.
There were still some people that thought the Earth was flat during that time.
You see here on the left. In fact, can you see my presentation? Halrious.
Yep, we can see it.
Hold on. Yeah.
So we are both Christian, and we both believe that God exists. Therefore, it's natural that not only Scripture but also nature has its origins to God, which means that both Scripture and nature are under human interpretation. This is why the scientific method is most important, because you iron out those human errors until you make a general theory, and hence like a law, of what is factually both in nature and in Scripture. So has Ellen G. White demonstrated that her visions are both scripturally and naturalistically speaking? The fact that she just made a claim is not a stone point. Usually when prophets, one second, usually when you look at Old Testament prophets like Isaiah, he gives you a caveat as to, okay, here's a prediction, and here's what you should see with these type of predictions. But prophets that just make bold statements, out of the blue, like a model in the Bible.
Okay, so first of all, Ellen White is not a scientist or a historian. She was a writer. So just like when I read in the passage, she even in her own passage, she said 2 times or roughly around. She was estimating, because if she was seeing these dreams, it's not like the numbers were coming up in the dream saying he's 15 feet tall, he's this, he's that. She was using what she could see, just like in John in the Revelation, when he would see end times, and when he would see the blood moon, when he would see all these things happening, he would describe the things based on what he could see. So in Ellen White's instance, she was describing Adam's complexion and the way Adam looked and all these things based on what she could see. So maybe the hard, pure probability or the hard, pure evidence numerically may not be there, because number one, we do not know if she could see the numbers, and number two, 2 times. So if the average height is 6, what's 2 times 6?
Okay, just
12,
just a couple
not 15, like you said.
Though. 1 second, just a couple of things. Okay, she's made a claim. Is it logical then, and is it fair to go and investigate that claim to see if she's right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why hasn't the Seventh-day Adventist Church done that? Because
they have done that. What makes you think they haven't?
You can demonstrate that what she said is true, then we have a very recent example of direct revelation from God. But I don't see that connection. What I find interesting, 18th and 19th centuries, you have people like Joseph Smith, Ellen G. White, the founder of Seventh-day Adventism, Jehovah's Witness. It's an interesting explosion of, and I hate to say this, cultic associations and
No, don't even call us a cult. Don't even call us a cult.
Well, I would consider your denomination a cult.
No, if you look at our fundamentals, we solely follow the Bible. If you look at everything that we do, there's nothing cultish about it in any way. You are looking on the internet, and people on the internet are saying that we are a cult. I am a Seventh-day Adventist. I am a Seventh-day Adventist, and I'm telling you, we are not a cult.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna go with Halrious on this one. I don't think it helps using these kind of inflammatory things. I mean, I was baptized Mormon. I know Mormons are not a cult. There's no doubt in my mind Mormons are not a cult. They're actually a very nice group of people. There's nothing cultish about it. No more different than any other.
No, again, when I use the word cult, I'm not.
Yeah, I know agree with Stephen. Hilarious.
I know what you mean. Cult is defined as any kind of religion. A cult means formal, venerable worship. So basically, even Christianity is a cult. Any kind of religion, any kind of formal, venerable worship is a cult. But it doesn't need to be utilized in that terminology because we may know what the words mean, but it can be taken many different ways. But let's actually bring it back more, away from Ellen G. White and bring it back more to that list that you have. If you guys don't mind, because I just don't think that this is going to get anywhere with Ellen G. White per se. I mean, I think general line of questioning is great, but I'm kind of more curious, from the science claims that you had, because you had a list of them, by the way, which we know all. Yeah, it was a tangent that went on a tangent. So, do you want to bring it back? Go to your third claim on that. I think we were up to.
All right. So, General, that means
you guys cool with that?
Okay.
I want to make sure everybody's okay.
Okay, so General, that means we'll have to talk about this another time. Maybe you can add me on G Plus or something.
I can give you a video I put on my YouTube channel by Walter Martin, how he interviews a Seventh-day Adventist, and the Seventh-day Adventist literally, because of that interview, left the organization. And I recommend you watch it.
I'll send you a video also about Seventh-day Adventists from Amazing Facts, the Bachelor.
Go watch it.
Okay. I'll make sure you add me on G Plus. Okay, I'm gonna go on the third.
Okay.
I think we've already.
Let me stop presenting you real quick. One second.
I would love to interject before the reading of the third evidence, if I could.
Yes, of course.
Is that okay, Hilarious?
Yeah.
And I want to offer this up as if I may insert myself as the ambassador for the audience. And Hilarious, I take these words to heart. So I have seen many and participated in many conversations where a person comes forward and says, well, I have evidence for the age of the earth or special creation or what have you. We say, okay, well, come on in, tell us what evidence has convinced you. You as a person, you've gone through life, you've looked at different things, you've learned different things, and you've come to this conclusion. We say, well, what has convinced you? What brought you to this point? And then once we get into the conversation, the first thing that happens is, well, I don't know, but there's stuff you can Google. Well, here, let me Google something right now, and I will read you somebody else's writing. I will read you a list of evidences from a web page. And that doesn't really answer the question about what has convinced you, what brought you to this point that you're currently at. What have your past experiences been that have got you to this point? And then what ends up happening is we have, well, let me read number one. And number one might be, oh, there's not enough dust on the moon or whatever. And then somebody else will say, well, actually, this has been looked at and here's the correct answer. And then the person will say, oh, okay, well, let me read number two. They won't say, oh, thank you, I learned something about the moon dust, or you're wrong about this because, or let's look into this some more. They go, oh, okay, well, here's number two. So for now, that's a very excellent point. You're now going to say, oh, okay,
Excuse me, I have to go walk my dog.
Oh, okay. Can I?
Or they'll do that.
Can I? Hogtie, I do want to respond to what you just said.
Well, I want to say.
First of all,
and then you can.
Hogtie. First of all, Steve asked me to come in here for discussion. He didn't ask me to come in here for debate. So
I know. Okay, hold on. You're then reacting to something I'm not saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me clarify what Hogtie is saying because I'm going to make
Let me say what I'm saying, and then you can address it, and then you can clarify it, and you can walk your fucking dog. Can I just say it first?
You're done.
What I'm saying is that you may or may not respond. Okay, we're asking you, or I think what Steve was asking you is tell us you're here for a conversation, not for a debate. That's part of my point. So don't read somebody else's prepared arguments on what they think should convince other people that your view is true. As an audience member, I'm more interested in hearing what has brought you to this point. And just tell us honestly and candidly. We don't have to agree with the evidence that you're showing. Obviously we're going to respond to it. People are going to say, well, this is what I think. What do you think about that? But for you to come in and say, well, I don't really have any proofs, but you can Google it. In fact, I'll Google some now, doesn't answer what I think is a very interesting question. What brought you to this point? And I want to be clear about this too, because this is a potential objection, is it might sound like I'm saying, well, you're not allowed to use Google. If you say something like, well, I read a really interesting things about the sedimentation at the bottoms of oceans, and I don't remember all the details. Well, here, let me Google something that's interesting, and then you go ahead and you bring that up. That's one thing, right? Because you're sort of, I'm not one of these people like G-Man who absolutely objects to somebody Googling during a hangout. I think you should have to hand the best information you can. But it sounds to me like what you're doing is you don't actually have these things to hand. You don't even know the headlines of these things. You're saying, well, I will, rather than seek let me say it this way, rather than seek the truth, I'm going to come into the hangout and I'm going to seek a web page that purports to have evidence that speaks to my position. So can I ask you as an audience member, can you go however you want to go about it, and Steve, you moderate how you want to moderate, but in my view, as someone in the audience, I would like to hear him speak about what it is that has drawn him to his current conclusions. Is that fair?
From a science point of view, or from a like what they were talking about with Ellen G. White?
Oh, yeah. Well, sorry, I was going to, this was a few minutes ago that I thought of this, and there was a line I wanted to include. I wanted to say, and Halrious, I hope you take the start. What I mean is tell us what brought you to this position. And if it's the case that it's evidence that brought you to this position, at least to some degree, then tell us what the evidence is.
Okay.
So it can be either. It can be you just feel like that's the right thing. If that's the truth, then that's great. I find that stuff interesting. If you say you have evidence for us, well, then tell us what evidence has swayed you.
That's such perfect.
As a YouTube video or a YouTuber.
Well, can I step in? I think he is. I think I'm assuming Halrious is saying, and I want to be fair to him, that these arguments are presented in a way where he believes that they best explain.
I have to disagree. I don't think he's ever really looked into these arguments. He sounds like he's just reading them from a page rather than saying, what, this has really convinced me, because of the sedimentation and this. I mean, let's let Halrious address that in his own words.
Let's let him finish, because it may just be.
I think as a general rule, how about this? If you're reading one of these proofs off of a web page and it's not one that you're familiar with and not one that had compelled you, then just skip it.
Yeah, there you go.
That makes sense. That's simple enough.
Yeah. So go ahead, Halrious.
Can you guys give me 1 minute? I'm just going to collect my food and I'm going to come back upstairs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, take your time. I mean, I want to give the benefit of the doubt.
Time you
to Halrious.
Beginning now. No, I'm just kidding. Take it long, man.
It may just be that he heard this list from a popular YouTuber. There are a lot of YouTubers on Google and on YouTube and whatnot that they have really convincing arguments, and some of them have dedicated a lot of free time to coming up with these lists. So they're there for people like Halrious to utilize. And we can thank people like Nephilim Free for, turning people on to some of these arguments. And of course, our good friend True Empiricism here.
By the way, that's some of the funniest things.
Who also moves.
That's a great.
This is by
forget
Drake.
That is really good. That's pretty good.
Drake did this, and Drake, I'm gonna tell you, brother, you got talent. You have freaking talent. I saw this, and I swear to God, I was dying.
This is awesome.
Brilliant.
Hey, baby, wait, come here.
Look, this blows anything I've had away, man.
My wife has been watching True Empiricism videos. Baby, come look at this shit. Look what somebody made. You see what this says?
It's just epic. It's so good.
Chef's tip: don't soak your hands in water too long. By Chef Boy, are you dumb?
That's genius. That's genius.
That's genius.
I
saw it.
2018
God, that's funny.
mayo.
I'm going to say this right now. You just made me hungry.
Dude, I laughed so hard when I first saw that. I was like, this is quality stuff. I gotta get with Drake and maybe get some memes. I gave him one, but he said it was too hard. But I'll give him some other ideas. We can write some memes together, because that is just freaking cool.
Guess who's back? Back again.
Who's back?
Guess who's back?
Who's back?
Go and tell your friends.
Back in town.
Guess what the annoying thing is? I go downstairs and it's rhubarb strudel, and I hate rhubarb strudel.
Oh,
what the heck?
I don't even know what that is.
It's kind of like celery, but it's red.
Rhubarb. You talking about rhubarb?
Nah.
Rhubarb is nasty.
Rhubarb, yeah,
Like
like a plant.
I don't like rhubarb pie.
Screw think rhubarb pie.
Purple thing?
Or a coffee cake.
No, why do people eat that?
I don't know. Rhubarb is like this.
Okay, Craig, why do you eat okra?
Weird taste to it.
That stuff
I
is
don't eat
slimy
okra.
and gooey.
I really, honestly, it's weird. I don't.
Why do
when
people
someone's
eat that?
making gumbo,
Isn't that what they make
fucking
buildings
snot.
out of?
No, okra.
Okra's good. I like fried okra. Yeah, fried okra's good. Okay.
I don't eat okra. Believe
Okra,
it or not,
the
I
only
really don't eat
okra has to
okra.
be made properly where you don't get it doesn't soak up all the oil, right? You want it to be crispy.
But it has that. If you fry it, it still has that nasty core that tastes like or has the texture of fucking snot.
I didn't know this was a cook. I didn't know
it.
this was a cooking channel, but
you know what? We diversify a lot. We go on all kinds of things.
We go on tangents, just to kind of break the tension if there's any, and just to offer a little bit of humor.
We'll give you a recipe.
I was gonna have to be up one of you guys.
So, Hogtie had a really great question on the table, and I don't want to get away from it.
Oh, don't beat me up.
So, what actually brought you to the conclusion the Earth is young, other than just faith-based? Or if you want faith-based, that's fine too. But in your own words, what you said? You know what? After looking at this or believing this or whatever, I think the Earth is young. What evidence do you want to bring to us of any type? It doesn't need to be scientific, whatever. Just your reasoning.
Okay. First of all,
go ahead.
Trying to thank you guys for being good. Well, it's not good. I mean, being what's the word? Respectful in a way. You haven't really been trolling or anything, because I've been in some atheist hangouts and they've just been absolute a mess. But anyway, to address
that's why half the people in here are atheists. So go ahead.
Yeah, atheist Discord, but yeah, that's garbage. But anyway,
that's a different thing altogether.
Anyway, to address your point, to be honest, it's a plethora of things. It's a combination of faith and first of all, I'm not really a scientist. I think I've addressed this, so I can only I can hear a few things from actual scientists or from people I know, but I'm not necessarily a scientist. I don't know the carbon dating. I don't know the scientific theories behind these things. I mean, I did high school level science. I mean, I'm studying computer science for my for college, but I'm not really a scientist. So to go on to my evidence, it's mainly faith-based, and it's mainly through trust as well, because I trust. The reason why I trust the Bible and I trust NEGY is because from her track record and from the biblical track record of things that have gone right, or things that have been proven, or things that have happened, they have not let me down. And also, I can even link this spiritually as well, man. When you actually go down on your knees and you pray and you do all these spiritual things, you can't really scientifically measure that, because it's a different realm. It's a spirit. God cannot be contained. He cannot be. He's not a lab rat. You know what I mean. So these kind of supernatural things, it's very hard to merge it with scientific, with naturalistic theories, because it's things that are orientated around the supernatural, and as humans on this earth, we only observe the natural. So I mean, there's a lot of things that even scientists say that we cannot explain.
Okay, but there's just two issues I have with that. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
Yeah, I'm nearly done. I was trying to conclude and say, I mean, in general, for example, you're a Christian, but you don't really follow Seventh-day Adventism. I would recommend you watch the video I've linked in the external chat.
That would be.
It's not as bad as
Seventh-day Adventist.
It's not as bad. I know. He's General's not a Seventh-day Adventist.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though. One, I when it comes to like saying, okay, well, I pray about this and God tells me this, but you have such a diversification of people saying, well, God has told him this, this, and this. Now, I don't know. Want to speak for General? I don't know if General's ever said, yes, I prayed and I get this kind of message, right? But it's possible. But I know a lot of Christians that I have talked to that have said, I've gotten this particular message, right? This particular thing. Like Hugh Ross would say that God has told him basically that the Earth is old, right? And he's a very prominent astrophysicist. He doesn't believe in a young Earth. So, I mean, either God's giving people misinformation to certain people by whatever reason he has, or that people are interpreting things the way they want. Now, the objective evidence, well, it's still subjective, but the more objective evidence we can look at, at least science-wise, we can say, okay, what is something everybody can look at and say, what do we have for evidence for the age of the Earth? honestly speaking, there is zero scientific evidence for the age of the Earth being young. Zero, just none. Now, there's people that made claims, but every time you look into any one of those claims, they've always been wrong, always been completely and utterly wrong. So, yes, I understand the concept of faith. A guy named Todd Wood, he's a biologist. He's a young Earth creationist. But even he admits, yeah, all the evidence points to an old Earth. Evolution points, a lot of evidence toward evolution. But he says he accepts on faith that for some reason all that's wrong.
No, but Steve, I feel like, even all these things I've been reading and showing you, it's like you haven't really taken the time to sink it in. It's just like ultimately you're like, no, this is wrong because of this, because of that, and you just say move on.
Right.
It's like
the reason being.
Sorry, it's like no, but sorry.
We've already addressed things a million times. The list you have, we've read a million times. We know these arguments inside and out.
So I got a quick question.
Hold
on for a second. Hold on. Hilarious. So you said you've presented these evidences to us, and we've just said no, that's not right. Should we accept the claims even if we know them to be false, or should we determine?
We've already investigated them, right?
You know,
right.
Should we just accept them because you presented them, or should we, check the veracity of the statements?
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, you've got two. He's asking me a question. Anyway, the problem is you've got two sides. I mean, you've got you guys who are saying no, and then you've got all the other people that are writing these articles that are saying yes. They are going to try and use science to prove their point, and you are going to try and use science to prove your point. So the common factor here is science. So what makes you think your ideal and your scientific finding or theory on this is more plausible than theirs when they are trying to use the same thing that you are using? So it's almost like it's almost like a tug of war, and it's like.
Well, it's actually not a tug of war. There are certain people in the Young Earth creationism campaign who are simply dishonest. Right. And the good thing about science is when you say that we both use the science, yes, that means that we can check it. We can be objective, and a third party can verify if these claims are true or not. Simply saying, well, I'm using science doesn't mean a lot unless you look at the methods. If someone is saying that carbon dating is not reliable, that carries a lot of weight. And I mean, that's for anything in radioisotope measurements, and that's including medical science. So while some people I guess think that challenging this has only an impact on your worldview and that's it, it actually has ripples all throughout science because these same techniques are used all across the board in various different technologies. So when someone says, for instance, that they have found a particular mammal at or above or below a particular boundary where no other has ever been found by any other person, any other denomination, white, black, Hispanic, whatever, even though Hispanic's not a race. So that carries a lot of weight because that contradicts just a ginormous amount of evidence, that we have present. So I think you're painting this picture that's not actually true. It's on the one hand, I do understand that you think that people are just going to believe what they believe, which is true. But on the other hand, people are sitting down investigating these claims and checking to see if they are right. And it turns out more often than not that the claims, such as the ones that you are making, are demonstrably false.
Yeah, and let me point out, by the way, we had a lot of people asking for the link. I just now checked. So if you've been asking for like the last 15 minutes, I just invited you guys. So sorry about that. I will check more often because we had a lot of people, Hannah, Daryl, and somebody else wanted the link. So I've invited you guys. But I think his point is very sound there, Hilarious. If I say to you that 10,000 mathematicians will tell you that 1 + 1 = 2, but a couple of young Earth creationists tell you that 1 + 1 = 3. What's more likely to be the case, right? We have a very, very narrow group of people that are young Earth creationists solely that are giving supposed evidence for young Earth. And yet we can look into these claims and show each individual one why they're wrong. And yet every other science who's not a young Earth creationist goes, yeah, they're completely wrong on this. That's the reason. Because
yeah, can I just say
is right that well, one second. I think Drag is right. There is a lot of dishonesty. I mean, I talk to these young creationist scientists, right? I mean, we've talked to Snelling, we've talked to Dr. Tompkins. I see a little bit of a questionable things going on with them. I really do, unfortunately.
Steve, how would you respond to the argument that what you just said is just an argument ad populum, that just because a majority of people believe one premise doesn't mean it's correct?
Argument ad populum is basically saying, well, this is true because the population, the majority of the population, or a large majority, likes something, right? And that's not the case. We know something that is not based upon true or false, depending on its popularity. But we can say that if you have an educated group of people whose has authority in this area as far as their knowledge level, you can make a pretty good argument that they're probably more likely going to be correct than not, right? As far as, very commonly understood things. For example, if you have 10,000 doctors that tell you, hey, this is the course of action that you need to take to help you get rid of whatever you have, and you have one doctor out there saying, hey, no, to eat baking soda, and that's going to cure it. What's more likely they're going to be the case, right? So it's not an argument ad populum. It's not saying that it's an absolute fact. It's not saying that it has to be this way because scientists say so, but more than likely, experts are going to be more often correct than not. That's
can I just say something? Sorry, can I just say something? Darl, are you there? You look like Wolverine.
Did Daryl pop in?
You look like Logan, dude. You look like Hugh. You look like Hugh Jackman.
Thank you.
Yeah, great hair.
Related to him.
I hate Daryl.
He looks like a rock star, doesn't he? He could be a rock star.
He does. He just doesn't pick up like a bass or something,
You should sign up for the next Wolverine.
No, I think he's more of a rocker.
Tell Hilarious about my list of young creationists who have legitimate doctorates, PhD dissertations, that advocate for an old Earth.
That advocate for an old Earth?
Well, I mean, that means they wouldn't be a young Earth creationist. That you said young Earth creationists who believe in an old Earth.
I think you mean that advocate for young Earth, because what he has is he collected documents.
The list I have of young Earth creationists who work for Ken Ham, they have legitimate PhD dissertation doctorates in science, but when you read their dissertations, they don't appeal to young Earth. Remember that list?
And here's the funniest part: who was it that had a dissertation on the rubidium strontium dating, and for their PhD, and then turns around and saying, "Oh, but you know what? Radiometric dating doesn't work."
Yeah,
it obviously worked for their PhD. It's kind of weird. It's kind of surreal, actually.
It's this interesting cognitive dissonance when it comes to religious claims. But it's like you can acknowledge it, and for me, standing on the outside looking in, I find it interesting that other Christians will actually besmirch science just to try and shoehorn in this really narrow view of their theology. And if you look through the annals of history as far as science is concerned, there have been Christians at almost every turn making these strides and making these big, advancements. And it's kind of like spitting on their image in a way. And I actually had this conversation with Antonio. It's like you can't look at the history of scientific endeavors and not look at how people's theology has played a role in it. And I just find it really, really ironic, that it's kind of going backwards nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, if these people actually did have evidence that carbon dating didn't work or anything like that, that should have been their PhD paper, and that would have won the Nobel, right? If they really have the evidence, then the evidence stands for itself, and they don't have the evidence because most people that generally look at this stuff can go, you know what? Yeah, I see the mistake they made, and I know they can as well. That's why I can't really believe that they are that inept at their positions when these guys really have legit degrees. They're not stupid people. But they make some of the most basic mistakes, or at least maybe deliberately put something in there, and that's why I question. Yeah, how does this happen? Why is it just young Earth creationists make these really flawed arguments, right?
Yeah. So here's Jim Mason's dissertation that you were appealing to, Steve.
Jim Mason, yeah. I mean, he actually did a PhD on it, but then he says, "Oh, it's wrong."
Yeah, this is the dissertation I have, the PDF of it, Structure of Rubidium and Strontium Nuclides of Mass 1991. And when you actually go through it, he gives you the charts, and he demonstrates exactly the age of the decay rates. And I'm just thinking to myself, and yet when you go on YouTube and you upload, videos saying that, oh, it's all unreliable, blah, 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 that means your entire dissertation is unreliable.
Yeah, it's weird.
Well, it makes
but that he could make the point that he had to do that to get his PhD. You couldn't put forth a PhD and get
right. So that's my point. Why then do they label their names as Dr. Jim Mason? No, you're just Jim Mason because
according
Well, he
to
is a
your.
I got to disagree with you, General. He is a doctor because he does know the evidence. He has this dissertation. He has gone through the system, but he may reject what he knows, but that doesn't mean he's not accredited.
Right,
He hasn't
I
gone
agree
through the
with
system.
you. But he uses the okay. Here's the thing: he uses the information that's solid science to get his PhD, right? And then turns around and says, "Well, the science is wrong." Well, that's kind of me disingenuous. If you think the science is wrong, then demonstrate the science is wrong, because you'll get a lot further if you can actually show this stuff. It'd be wrong. Matter of fact, scientists make names for themselves when they show something to be wrong.
Nobel Prize.
That's yeah, exactly. So it just seems, but okay. The Dr. Todd Wood. I've actually asked him to try to come in and support Dr. Tompkins' work, right? And he said he just wouldn't. Not that he doesn't want to go on air, but he doesn't support Dr. Tompkins, right? He thinks he's wrong, right? And he's a younger creationist, but he admits that there's a lot of evidence for evolution. Matter of fact, overwhelming. He just thinks in his mind, for whatever reason, God made it look that way, but you know what? It's just testing people's faith. That's, it's fine. People want to believe that. I don't care. But I don't see how anybody could rationally say, you know what? Yeah, God made it look that way. But, I'm going to believe that's going to be a young earth. To me, it really, really is. But at least he admits all the evidence points for an old earth. And he's not the only one. There are other people.
My question to Halrious would be this. Why are literally all the young earth creationists people on Answers in Genesis and all that, why do all of their doctorate dissertations appeal to an old earth, not a young earth?
But we just answered that though, because they to get their credentials, they had to do it.
No, I want him to answer this question. If there's legitimate evidence for young earth, then why don't they write their dissertations appealing to a young earth?
But that's a loaded question, because the people who are reading it are with science, and the scientists don't believe in a young earth unless they had evidence to overturn it.
If you can demonstrate a dating method is flawed, it makes no difference for the age of the earth. You're showing the evidence is wrong. That's a gold mine to any scientist.
Agreed, but to even do that, you have to know how they use the dating method now to be able to refute it later. And I would say that
they don't refute it though. That's the problem. They don't refute it using actual science. The things they say are wrong are not problems. It's completely hogwash.
Agreed, but I think General's question to Halrious was a loaded question, because we all just literally said that they had to do this so they can get the title doctor, so they can
say that. No, that's not what we said. He said they could say that. I don't think it's a fair thing. I don't think if they said that it'd make sense to me. They could say it, but it's not. To me, it's not a logical position to take.
Well, hold on. Let's take a step back for a second. So if you take an oath to join the military, right? You waive your rights. Of course, that some of us have done.
Or don't you ever?
But then you will. By the way, folks, pro tip: you will waive your rights, your constitutional rights, and then you turn tail and you decide you want to defect to whatever country it is that you're actively engaged in. You will be denounced as a soldier, but does that mean that you were never at some point in time a soldier? Now that you're completely disillusioned, now that you've reneged on what you've previously said and believed, can you actually say that person was never?
Well, you changed the context. When you're talking about taking an oath, losing constitutional rights, you're talking about a totally different context. And the context of I want to be a doctor, I want to get this title. I know that I have to present this particular body of work to get this, to achieve this goal. Then yes, I could do that, but then not believe that these things are true, or try to.
That's disingenuous, though.
Saying it's not, but I'm saying
MP, you're misunderstanding my question. My question is, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting that dissertation, right? And then
agreed.
They label 4 other Christians like Halrious to rely on. Dr. Danny Faulkner, Dr. Jim Mason, Dr. John Hartnett. I'm giving these are younger names.
I'm agreeing.
Excuse me, but your dissertation is appealing to an older, it's not a younger. So why can't then, if you're going to say, Jim Mason or Danny Faulkner, remove the doctorate part, because you're not a doctor in that context. Because what you've just done is I just happened to dissertation in the bin.
I strongly disagree with you. I think they are doctors in the context of what they're saying, and they're saying
I think
they
they
don't
are
believe
too.
in the evidence.
I will.
I
I'm going to
don't
go with
agree.
you on this one. They are doctors, and I have no problem calling them doctors, and I treat them with the utmost respect, even if I disagree with them, because I think they've earned the right to be called doctor, and like Ken Hovind, who is not a freaking doctor, right? So I have no problem if they want to be called doctor this, doctor that. Most don't. I mean, look how like gracious like Dr. Hugh Ross is when he comes in. He's like, oh, call me Hugh. Look at Fuzz Rana. Oh, just call me Fuzz. These guys are just really down to earth.
But did they actually do, like, did Dr. Fuzz, Dr. Rana actually do?
They have a full on. Yeah, they are real doctors. Matter of fact, Fuzz Rana is extremely well educated. He actually was.
Yeah. Oh no, I've seen his pedigree. Like, he's very well educated.
Legit.
But
Legit.
does he then contradict his thesis, like his body of work that allowed him to join the rank?
Not his own body of work.
So
he does
that's
flawed
what
obviously, because he doesn't really fully accept evolution, but most of it, he does.
He doesn't have to, though. Not for his area. I don't think he
I've
actually
never heard
has to, because we can change that.
I've never heard him say that. Oh, everything we know about biochemistry is wrong. No, that's just.
Is someone here implying
that's the problem.
Is someone here implying that there's some conspiracy in the scientific community against creationism to willingly censor it for certain reasons? I mean, like, what the hell's going on?
I don't know if that's actually.
It could be.
It could be, but I mean, I don't know if that was actually stated. But
how would that actually go about?
It could
like,
possibly be, but I just find it really odd that would be the case, because again, people would become very, 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 very famous if they could disprove any theory. You pick one, they disprove it, they falsify it, they're gonna make a name for themselves.
I mean, for those who think or imply that, I mean, like, how would you picture that? How would you describe that actually happening or being the case?
It's the devil. He doesn't want people to know the truth.
Hail Satan.
Okay, so if you have a young Earth creationist and he's saying that, well, let's upend every concept of radiometric dating that we have, including the kind that allows people to undergo cancer treatment. So how would the devil, I guess, go about preventing them from obtaining a PhD?
I mean, you're asking me as if I am the devil. We're talking hypothetically here, if that is the case.
Could it just be as the same thing that the devil's maybe misleading you into a young Earth creationist position to fool people?
Yes, but the creationism and young Earth, old Earth, does not affect salvation. So either way, it would be a failed cause, because even if I was old Earth creationist, it would not change my salvation. I probably would still go to heaven, because as long as I believe Jesus is my Lord and Savior and I follow His commandments, I'm sure I'll be fine. I probably won't even matter.
Okay, that's fair enough. But the problem is during your lifetime, you were giving out gross misinformation that you might have to be accountable to. I mean, that's something you need to take into account. Are you promoting good information? If it's not a salvation issue, then why don't you look at the actual science? I mean, anybody who actually objectively looks at the evidence will always come to the conclusion that the Earth is not young. I mean, if you really look at it and go, okay, here's the claim. Let me fully understand this claim. And see the younger position and go, okay, does this make sense? For example, and we'll get to some of them on your list, even though I think hog timing is a brilliant point. These are not really what convinced you. And I'd rather hear what convinced you, but so far I haven't really heard anything. But when you look at these claims like polystrate trees, somebody brought up the other day, Hovind loves to use polystrate trees as evidence for young Earth.
They're not trees.
They're not trees. When you look actually at them, they're lycopods, they're club moss, and they're not strata, they're mud layers. And even other young Earth creationists will say this. It's bad evidence, because he's calling them rock layers. They're not. They're mud. And he's calling them trees. They're not. So every claim that you can possibly come up with for young Earth creationists, you'll find that it's been completely just utterly fabricated. And that's the problem we run into, right? So, you might not be a salvational issue, but aren't you wondering if you're putting forth true information or not? Because I know General does. General, you care a lot if you put out information or not. You take that very seriously as a Christian, do you not?
It's mandated. I mean, the Christian theology is mandated by one of the titles of Christ, and that is Logos. So Logos is reason, truth. So as a Christian, I'm mandated to have a scientific form of worship, not faith claims.
Okay, Steve, here's the thing. It's like, it starts off with the creationism. If you look at all of these, I'm just going to use Wayne as an example. He used to be a creationist, and now
I'm sorry.
it's Wayne.
Oh yes, no, he's still a creationist, but he's an older creator. Well, sorry, he's a theistic evolutionist. But he's still a creationist.
Yeah, theistic evolution. You see, he used to be. He used to do hangouts with Village and Christian and Kent Hovind, and he used to be very,
And do you know why he doesn't anymore? Do you know what the final straws were?
Can I just want to finish and then you can.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, he used to do all those hangouts, and he was pretty much old-fashioned with with the old Earth. With the young Earth. Sorry, but then you start to see, obviously, as his profession, he's a scientist. So you start to see how
he's not a scientist; he's a teacher.
Is he?
Yes.
I thought he was a science teacher or something.
He's a substitute science teacher.
That's not a scientist.
That's not a scientist. He teaches substitute science.
Well, I heard. He said he was.
No.
No, he never said he was a scientist. He said he was
the reason why he changed was literally, and I know this sounds odd, but it was because of General and myself. General and I, we showed him the evidence, and he said, "You know what? I don't want to promote misinformation. I want to be correct." And he looked into things himself. He said, "You know what? Damn, you guys are freaking right."
Okay, but the thing is, the point I was trying to make is, it starts off with things like that. If you think about it, it's almost like he's compromising his beliefs, because before that he was believing that, when the Bible, he was doing his own things as a Christian, but then now it's almost like he's compromising with the world, and he's changing his. I'm still speaking, and he's changing his views. What if it gets to a certain point where it starts changing the laws now and morality now? What if you start saying the Bible advocates abortion, or the Bible advocates homosexuality? It gets to a point where it's just pure compromise, and it gets to a point where the scripture in itself will become misconstrued and changed to try and fit the secular worldview. That's why someone like me would rather stick to the hard copy original scripture rather than trying to accommodate to modern day secular views or naturalistic views. I'd rather stick. That's the problem with Christians these days. There's too much compromise, and that's why you've got all these different denominations. Listen.
Hold on. I didn't know he spoke, and read Greek and Latin and Hebrew and Aramaic. I mean, if you stick to the original
version of the Bible, at least. I mean, the funniest thing is you say that about Wayne, but Wayne actually wanted to be truthful, and he recognized the fact that this young Earth creationism is about as makes sense as young Earth, right? Because we have Christians in our community that actually say the Earth is flat. I mean, sorry, that's what I meant, flat. Then we have people actually say, you know what? I want to be true to the Bible. Earth is flat, and one of them we just talked to the other day, right?
The Earth is not flat. The Bible does not prove that the Earth is flat.
But Matthew believes that the Bible says that. He's using the same argument you are. As, I want to be true to the Bible, therefore the Earth is flat, and you're saying, oh, look, that's absurd, but you're using the same argument for young Earth.
No, it's not, because the problem is the Bible does not prove it's flat, so he is in the wrong.
Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah, not another tangent.
And if you're using Isaiah when it says that the world was flat or like a circle or whatever, it's because in those times they didn't really have telescopes, so they couldn't really see the world in a.
We don't even need to go to Isaiah. We can go even to the New Testament, where Paul gives a classic three-tier cosmology of the universe. In Philippians 2, the common Christi, where he says, all knees shall bow, whether in heaven, under the earth. That's a three-tiered flat earth that the ancient Near Eastern people believed in. So Paul is 700 years.
It's poetic.
No, he's a Jew appealing to the three-tiered structure of the universe. In the 10 Commandments, you have the three-tiered structure. God himself says, don't make an image, whether in heaven, on earth, or under the earth.
Okay. When it says under the earth, it's referring to the core, and it's referring to the beneath the earth. Also, it's because it's for an effect. It's a poetic way of describing how it's going to be everywhere. So it's beneath you, it's everywhere. You're reading it in the wrong way.
Sorry, but the underworld is not the core. The underworld is Sheol, which is designating that the fact that you have a flat disk that's held up by pillars.
Oh my gosh!
And under the flat disk is believe it or not, a society of souls in the underworld.
There's no such
And so
thing as the underworld. That is Greek mythology. Listen, in the Bible, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as a place called a hell. Hell is the apocalypse at the end of the world. Hell is on earth. There's no such thing as Satan's in the ground. There's no such thing as. That's not the Bible. That's Catholicism. Listen, that is Catholicism with purgatory, and all that. That is not biblical.
So why does the Hebrew Bible hundreds of times use the phrase Sheol?
Yep, Sheol.
Sheol is exactly.
What's the underworld?
Show me. No, can you show me the way it says that, sir?
Okay.
They're using the King James version. Using the King James version.
Yeah, the King James version actually translates Sheol as hell.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to go, I can make it really hard for you. In Acts chapter 2, Jesus, according to the King James version, descended to hell in verse 27. But obviously, the proper
oh my gosh,
Greek word there is Hades, so Hades, the Hebrew word Sheol. James, he descended into hell itself, which would be that underworld thing that you're saying is all mythology.
Listen, I find it very dishonest for you to say that the Bible proves the flat Earth. That's just ridiculous. I'm sorry.
No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying that, he definitely, he's not a flat earther. He is saying, though, that during that time period, there were people, a lot, that had the model of a flat earth, and even some of the original apostles probably believe that as well.
I mean, if you think about it, the way they would look at the world was through a map, and it would be a flat map, and they would see all these different nations flatly on a map. So he was kind of using it, describing it
They didn't have maps then. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they were.
So you're telling me they didn't have scrolls? They're telling me they didn't have scrolls with all the nations on them. How do you think they would plan? How do you think they would plan for war? How would they plan for war if they didn't know where the enemy was?
They had a very small, narrow version of their world, right? Their world was basically Mesopotamia. That was it. They didn't really extend that much further out of that, correct? But Sheol was the Hebrew underworld. It wasn't. Later on became hell. But correct me if I'm wrong. But when Jesus went down to preach to the spirits,
exactly.
For 3 days,
Peter 3. Yeah.
That's where he went down to Sheol, correct?
Yeah, he went down to.
Can you show me this, please?
So in 1 Peter 3:18-22, Peter is appealing to Second Temple literature like the Book of Enoch, where Enoch says, Watchers or the Apkallu, so going back to that Genesis 6, the Noah's flood stuff, when they were cast down into this other realm because of what they did, in Greek mythology it's called Tartarus. And by the way, Peter in fact says that, Tartarus, in 2 Peter 2. He says that when Jesus died and was buried, he made a proclamation that they've lost the fight, and now he's going to win the fight by resurrecting himself. And through that resurrection, he's going to take into heaven. And you have paintings of this, actually. You have Jesus, it's quite funny, you have Jesus open the front door of, Hades, and the front door crushes a demon, and then he takes them out. So
okay, can you tell me where in Peter? Sorry.
This is 1 Peter 3 verses 18-22.
Okay. And by the way, the Book of Enoch is not canon.
Not according to the early church. I mean, Peter is appealing to Enoch in 1 Peter 3. Jude is appealing to Enoch as well. Because in fact, Jude very clearly says, Enoch said this. And then he quotes the Book of Enoch. Jesus himself alludes to the Book of Enoch.
There's nothing here about Enoch, mate.
I doubt you've even read Enoch, because the phrase that he descended into the spirits in prison is from the Book of Enoch.
Yes, and Enoch is not canon, so I do not need to read it. It's like me saying, have you read the Quran? I don't need to read the Quran.
Why would Peter then appeal to Enoch if it's not canon?
You're not showing me where he's appealing to Enoch. I can't see Enoch here.
Go to 1 Peter 3 and read from verse verse 19. By which this is using the King James. by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison. The spirits in prison is a phrase only found in Enoch.
Okay, read it in context. So I'm going to go a few verses back.
Where are you from, though?
For this, I'm reading it in context. I'm trying to read a few verses back because you can. It's easy for you to cherry pick.
This is another tangent, Steve.
No, it's easy for you to cherry pick without reading the context.
I'm not cherry picking.
Yeah, I don't see how he's cherry picking at all. This is actually what I'm aware of as well being the case. So, and I did read Enoch a long time ago, but I think a lot of these books were canon at one time, or at least considered to be scripture. And then in 1611, King James really kind of like had to limit what he wanted to put in there, and so he arbitrarily decided what to put in the King James version and what not to.
That's and specifically in your King James translation. But now Peter and Jude are very close contemporaries, especially when the dating of their letters. So Peter is alluding to Enoch, but Jude is very explicit. So if you go to Jude verse 14, in fact, read it out for us on the mic. What does he say in verse 14?
Of the First Peter chapter 3.
No. Jude verse 14.
Okay. It says, and Enoch also the seventh from Adam prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him.
Right. Now, where is that in the Bible? You won't find that quote except in the book of Enoch.
Hey, General, real quick, can we get for clarification purposes that you are not a flat earther and you do not advocate that the Bible actually teaches flat Earth?
No, I'm not advocating that at all. Remember, I'm a concordist, so I in fact,
right. I know your position, but there are people that are misunderstanding what you're saying, and I want for clarification. Can you go on record saying that you do not advocate a flat Earth?
No,
you don't think the Bible does.
What I'm saying is that the text is both an ancient Near Eastern context as well as, if it is inspired, and if God is indeed wanting to tell us truths today, it can also be interpreted in our context as well. And that's the due nature of the text.
And that's what the question that was asked. That's what Halrious asked. He said the Bible does not teach a flat Earth, and so General Sohan said it does teach a flat Earth.
No, it doesn't. That's not what he said. The Bible, the people in the time who wrote the Bible, many of them believed that the Earth was flat. That does not mean that the Bible itself advocates for that position. There's a difference.
Right, but Halrious, when you asked him, you said, "Hey, does the Bible?" Or you said the Bible does not teach a flat Earth. Didn't this guy start to defend that the Bible does teach a flat Earth? Am I missing something or what?
I think there's a little confusion there. The Bible isn't teaching the flat Earth, but
God is
the Bible that
God
indicating that that's what they believed at the time.
No, I'm asking.
Steve is just saying that the Bible was describing that some people believed in a flat Earth. That's all he's saying. It's an account.
Right. I'm asking Halrious. Halrious, what did you hear him say?
Hear who saying? Sorry, General.
Did you ask him? You said the Bible. Well, you said the Bible does not teach a flat Earth. And what did General Sohan proceed to do? He proceeded to teach that.
Yeah, he said it does.
Right, so we both are not missing anything. We basically saying that he said that. So yeah. I'm glad Steve clarified that, because
we can just clarify and be all done with it. General, the question is, does the Bible actually teach it, or the Bible just actually states it because people at the time believed that the Earth was flat, or some people did?
Okay.
Just describing the behavior of the people.
Okay. The word teach may be confusing, so I'm not going to use the word teach, because teach may sound like is it objectively true that that the Bible is declaring reality to be such a case. No, the Bible's not doing that at all. What the Bible's doing, here again in my talk, that this is an artistic rendering of when you survey the ancient Near Eastern literature, and you survey how people used to think of the universe. This is how they envisioned their universe. The Bible is obviously engraved into that culture from the get-go. So naturally, if indeed God is talking to these people, he's such a sufficient manner that he'll appeal to their perspectives, but there's a subtle like changing direction, moving them away from this type of thinking, ultimately leading us to the present era, which is I'm showing in this photo here. So the Bible's not teaching this. All the Bible's doing is that here's the context that you're living in. Now I'm going to compare my nature, Yahweh. I'm going to compare my nature with Baal or Shemesh or any of these other gods. In the ancient Near East, Shemesh, see this house up here? There's iconographic details of Shemesh sitting on the vault of heaven. And you'll see his feet, touching the surface of the vault of heaven. In Isaiah 66, it's Yahweh who says, no, I'm the one who sits on the vault of heaven, and the earth is my footstool. But is it
that was not literal. That was an example. That was a way of saying that God is bigger than the earth.
Well, actually, the vote,
again,
the word vote.
This is just your conjectures on the text. I'm looking at Isaiah 66 in light of the Ugaritic material.
No, but it's like saying when Jesus told the story about the rich man and the poor man, how the rich man went to hell, and that was a parable. Like what you're referring to as the earth is his footstool. That is not literal. That is a way of saying that God is bigger than earth, and earth is a minor dot.
Wait. So as a younger creationist, you're picking and choosing what parts are literal and which ones are figurative?
It's pretty blatant. I mean, do you think the prodigal son would be interpreted as literal?
What I find more funny here is this is the metaphorical bit, but Adam being 15 feet tall is your truth.
Or Noah's Ark.
Yeah, that's the funny bit. You don't get to pick and choose.
It's not picking and choosing. It's common sense. It's common sense. It's common sense.
Before you even start.
No, it's common sense. No. The God does not literally put his feet on earth. I know what he's referring to. He's trying to make it seem like it's some kind of mystical. There's a hell. There's a hell universe. It's not Greek mythology. Do not mix the Bible with Greek mythology. You need to stop with this. It's heresy. Stop.
What he's trying to show you is how the Israelites actually viewed their world. That's what he's trying to show you.
Yes, General, you saying then that there was a culture that actually did believe in a flat Earth? Because this is new to me. I thought there was some obscure one, but I didn't realise you're saying this is ancient Near East cosmology, as though this was prevalent throughout that area in the what 500 BC, 1000 BC.
It's not like they were 2,000 years ago. I mean, come on. I mean, they were goat herders and shit.
Yeah, but they didn't. They weren't. The Babylonians knew that the Earth was round.
I believe that back then there's a lot of people that didn't get the message. Okay, I mean,
this could be the. This could be the.
I mean, this is the 21st century. We got people thinking the Earth is flat. So it doesn't surprise me back then that some people did as well. Okay,
but was it the generally prevailing view of this Near East, whatever that group of people?
I don't think it had any importance because back then they weren't really thinking about the shape of the Earth.
Well, clearly they were because they believed in a round one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. I think that they did view it as something that was flat, and they viewed it as the firmament as being something that was firm, and I think that because they seen that the clouds which held water and they was not rent, and so they viewed it as it being firm or an expanse between the waters that were below. I don't think the firmament was ever looked at.
I mean, it was firm, but it was round like an ass, right? It was round.
No, I don't think the firmament was ever looked at as a glass dome. I don't think that. Well, that's how they viewed it, as a glass dome. But I think they was really looking at the clouds or something, some type of molten what they call molten glass, as looking at the sky, because how when you mold glass from sand, it makes a sunset and also a sunrise effect. And it looks like molten glass. So they looked at the sky as being strong because of also the plasma that came from the not plasma, but plasma, but the what is it lightning that came from the sky, and they looked at it as being strong because of the thunder, and so the sky was strong to them. So it was also firm because when you look in the book of Job 28, 38, I'm sorry, it says that the skies are not rent because of the waters that's being held in the sky. Like if you even look at the sky, it says how in the beginning he made a swallowing band of clouds of darkness to withhold this strength in it. So I think that that was more so prophetic, but also scientific just as well, because when you look at how it says a mist went up and watered the whole earth, that's vaporization, and we know that also it deals with condensation later on.
So, General, would you please tell me who did not believe in the flat Earth around this time?
No one believed in a global Earth up until maybe around the 3rd century BC. Why the
Even
Greek?
the Babylonians? I thought they believed.
I don't think general.
No,
Yeah,
not
you
even.
say like the whole planet, not that.
You just said the Babylonians believed in a globe. You just said that.
Yeah. And some other.
No, I didn't.
Well,
no, that was
Greeks.
Greeks. Oh, for God's sake, General, let General speak, please.
General, go ahead.
Any first
sorry,
inkling mentioned?
Sorry, could you just quickly go over who believed in what when, as far as the spherical Earth goes?
Okay, so Isaiah is living 700 BC. Here is the god Shamash. This is a Ugaritic cuneiform seal, where it's an iconographic seal showing this is what they believed, generally speaking, of the high gods and what they would do. So Shamash is a sun god. What this is communicating is that here he is in his cosmic temple. Now notice, see this wavy pattern over here where my mouse is?
Mm-hmm.
This is the vault of heaven over here. And notice it's wavy because it's water. So they believed, and in this text itself, when you translate this cuneiform, the cuneiform's text says that since the sky is blue, well, water looks like blue, a bluish color. When you go to the oceans on a sunny day, oh, look, it's blue. They didn't realize that it's a reflection of been in the atmosphere and so on that make that blue color. They thought that the water was intrinsically blue. But ask questions like, okay, why is heaven blue? That means there's an ocean of water above. And Shemesh, the sun god, is seated and sovereign over, the universe. Now, these three people here, these are the priests.
Which religion is this, General?
Sorry?
This character? Which religion is this character from? This
this is right throughout the ancient era, so dating back 3000 BC up until the Babylonians.
So you cut out there on the word to describe which religion it was. Sorry,
going back to the Sumerian. Basically, this yeah, this goes way back. This is like ancient, and up until the time even Isaiah. So Isaiah is 700 BC, and Isaiah is appealing to this text in Isaiah 66 verse 1, where God through Isaiah is saying, "Who has the earth at my footstool?" Well, what imagery were people thinking of when God says, the earth is my footstool? They would be thinking about this, because here we have three priests of the temple of Shemesh here on the left. This disc here symbolizes the sun, and notice that Shemesh is notice this little guy up here with strings connected to the sun. So what this is communicating is Shemesh is the one who moves the sun during its circuit. So they believed in a flat. The sun would orbit from the east to the west.
General.
Does that make sense? Well,
right, this you were cutting out. Oh, yeah, intermittently. So this tablet you've got here. So this is quite sophisticated. This is from a tablet, right? When was this was?
Yeah, this is what they drew. Yeah.
And this was dated. What was it? What was the date on this? You say?
It's called the Sun Tablet. I'll have to go get the. Let me just get the.
And how is this a? When you say it's a tablet, it's not a handheld thing, is it? Is this a? Or is it a big thing on a
stone? So how they would write? It's called cuneiform. Cuneiform is when you engrave.
Linear A or linear B, presumably.
Sorry?
Linear A or linear B cuneiform, isn't it?
What do you mean linear A?
Doesn't cuneiform come in linear A and linear B?
Millennium BC, not millennium A.
No, linear. There are two sorts of cuneiform. I thought linear A and linear B.
Yeah, I've heard that as well, but I don't know the differences. But there are different types of cuneiform.
No, I don't know the difference between. I'll have to check that.
General, how big would this be? Is this like something you could pick up, or is this something that kind of leans against a wall?
This would be something you can pick. It's a, think of it like a, I don't know, 40 centimeter by 30 centimeter.
Right, okay. So it's quite big there. So it's not a handheld like the tablets that you hold in the hand that you engrave with a little whatever it is, a little pen-like thing.
No. Yeah, it's not tiny little. It's pretty big.
Right.
Okay, so but I think the point being is that there's some cultures that did think the Earth was flat and some didn't. I think that I mean, where else can we going to go with this, right?
Yeah. Okay. I was just interested in the history here. Right.
So,
so this is the model you think they were readily referring to in the Bible. This was a model that was accepted then. You're saying around this time.
Oh yeah.
Therefore,
is that the prevailing scholarly? Because I mean, I tend to agree with that, but I don't know if that's the prevailing model.
Right. Well, this actually has been translated so many times, and it's not translated. You know, it's translated also differently how General Sohan actually translated it by other people. They don't translate this as being the sun in the middle. Some people like what's the guy's name? Zachariah Stitchin. He translate this as being some type of sound.
Zachariah Stitchin did not know how to speak Sumerian. He was actually
I know I haven't even finished yet though. But what I'm saying is that other people don't translate this as being that this is Shemish, the guy Shemish or Shamash or however you want to say it. And he does come up out of the primordial mounds, and he's also looked at in Egypt as coming up out of the primordial mounds of water as the sun god. And this basically deals with creation. So I think that when you look at this, this very item that he picked out is not translated one way; it's translated various ways.
Well, you just agree that Zechariah Stitchin was a fraud who didn't know Sumerian. So what does it matter if some fraud translates it some way?
No, it's not just Zechariah Stitchin though. It's a lot of people have.
But it was. It was Simon Velikovsky.
Right. Yeah. It's.
Yeah, but why are you responding to what I was just saying with Zechariah Stitchin?
Right. I'm saying that Zechariah Stitchin and other scholars they use.
He's not a scholar.
He's not a scholar.
He wasn't a scholar. He's not a scholar.
Well, bottom line is this what you got? What is this called? What is this called? What is your source for this? Can you put the source in the back?
What do you mean? What is my source? I can go get you.
In other words. Right. What is it called? What is your source for the translation of this? Because I've looked at this piece, and this piece is actually dated a little bit later, because we can see that this it's not dated as early as you say it is. It's dated a little later. I believe it's dated around 600, 500 BC in that area.
Well, you can get the information.
If you got the source, that'll be.
He'll give you that'll be good. All right, so let's go back to actually the topic at hand, though. Hilarious. I'm still wondering, Hilarious, because I only got about an hour left, and I do have to go. Because somebody's taking me somewhere, but Hawkeye before he left asked a really a good question. I still haven't really got to the heart of what convinced you besides your faith of young Earth, and I really have to harp on the fact that if you have young Earth creationists actually saying the evidence for the Earth is old, all of it, right? Not all of them, but some do say that. And then when you provide us some evidence that you think is evidence for a young Earth, and we say, okay, let's objectively look at this and go, you know what? It's not. Don't you think you should take a step back and go, maybe I'm not putting out the right information? Again, you're literally saying 1 + 1 = 3. We're saying it = 2, and then you're saying, well, you're not evaluating it when we are. You gave us a list, and we're going to go to number 3 here in a second. A list that I don't think you've even looked at mostly yourself, that we've looked at ad nauseum. In fact, I've gone through the 101 evidence for young Earth on creation.com, and actually even brought it to Dr. Strafati's attention a lot of times that all of it is not even evidence for a young Earth. It's actually what they call negative evidence against an old Earth, which actually is wrong. But even if the old Earth was completely wrong, it doesn't mean the Earth is 7,000 years old. It could be 100,000, it could be 1 million, it could be 5 million. What evidence are they providing to come up with that number 7,000? And you know what? They don't have any. They literally don't. Nothing points to 7,000. It's purely just people saying, you know what, faith says it is, but scientifically it's not. And that's why when they talk about creation science, right, and this is what they're trying to tell people, that there's scientific evidence for a young Earth. And so, would you like to continue on with that aspect to your fourth or third thing on that list, and we can go from there?
Just a quickie, Steve.
Sure.
But I mean, it's like no. But I mean, it's like if you think about it, Steve. People say that evolution is science, but there's a lot of. You see the problem there. What you depict as science may not be what another person depicts as science. So ultimately, there we all have different views.
What makes evolution not science?
I mean, I already talked about this with I think it was Wolf yesterday. We were talking about how evolution is historical science and it's not really observational in real time. So in that case, you're taking a bit of you're taking a bit of you're taking a bit of faith based on minimal evidence to believe in a region to back up your view that there's no God, because you personally I'm not finished. Because you personally hate God. You personally hate God, so you want to try and find a view that can back up your view against.
Thank you for projecting.
Yeah, Larry, you do a lot of accusations out there.
Nobody here besides Wolf. Well, Wolf doesn't even hate God because Wolf doesn't believe in God, but he's a Satanist, but he doesn't believe in God. So you can't hate something he doesn't believe in. But the point being is that if I showed you evidence of evolution happening in real time, like right in front of your face, everything you just said, and admit that you're completely wrong. Because we can see evolution.
But you can't find evolution in real time. That's the problem. So it's a pseudoscience. It's historical science.
Don't go bringing me into this.
I'm telling you, I can give you evidence of evolution happening in real time. It's easy. It's trivial to do so. I did so to Wayne many times. I mean, there's first of all, I think the problem lies into your definition.
Right? Undo what unpresent me? Because I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think that your understanding of evolution is not the same as what an actual scientist would actually study evolution. Evolution means there's a change of allelic frequency in the population. Okay. Literally, that's what it means, a change of allelic frequency in any given population from one generation to the next generation over time. We see that happens. Matter of fact, anytime something born, there's a change. Anytime something dies, there's a change. These things are evolution, and evolution leads to speciation. That's why the theory is, okay, because of evolution, we have speciation events, not the other way around. Evolution happens first. Evolution happens each generation. And then because of that, they then can diversify and become different species. You, as a young creationist, I think has a misconception that you think evolution happens in the long run, right? Rather than in the short term. Evolution happens every day, in every population, in every reproductive cycle. That's the disconnect, right? So you're not having a real understanding of what the actual model teaches. You're not understanding what evolution really means. You have this warped straw man version of it and saying, oh, well, look, this doesn't happen.
Yeah,
well, and your version doesn't happen because that's not the way it is.
If I may just cut in, yeah, you mentioned me in our discussion about evolution briefly yesterday. I think you do have a misconception in that you say that they go with evolution because they hate God. I mean, that's just not the case at all. I mean, evolution is a scientific theory the same way gravity is. It's a body of knowledge that explains some aspect of natural phenomena, and like changes going on between generations and building up over time. I mean, these genetic changes being weeded out through natural selection and stuff like this. I mean, that's just how evolution works. It's not some that has nothing to say about theology or whether or not there's a God or not. That just explains why there are so many species well adapted to certain environments.
Right. And let me comment that evolution, theory of evolution explains evolution. Evolution exists regardless of the theory or not. Just like gravity exists regardless of the theory of gravity. Theory of gravity explains gravity. Theory of evolution explains evolution. Evolution is something we observe, and then we try to formulate, why do we see evolution? Right? Now, and you have it backwards. You think evolution is something that we kind of can have a conjecture of. No, evolution is what we see happening, and we want to explain why evolution occurs, just like we want to explain what gravity is. But I got to ask somebody like General, do you hate God?
Do I hate God?
Yeah, because he says that anybody accepts, that realizes evolution happens and accepts evolutionary theory as a model to explain evolution, must hate God. So I'm asking you.
No, I mean from a secular worldview of those. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said.
I want to make sure that I don't hate God. How can I hate something that even exists?
I forever love the creator, Jesus, with respect to evolution, because it's a perfect model for the incarnation and redemption of humanity.
So why would you say that people hate God when they're telling you that that's not the case? Isn't that kind
I'm
of
telling you, these big atheist scientists that do not believe in God want to try and sway the people away from God. So what if there was scientific evidence to prove God more than there already is? What if it was there, but they didn't want you to see it?
We would take a look at it, but here you have a contradiction. You just said that atheists hate God. Do you understand that an atheist doesn't believe in God? They cannot hate something they don't believe in. If you hate God, you're a mesotheist, not an atheist.
Dude, listen. Most of the atheists I've talked to, they said they don't believe in God because of morality and they think He's evil.
That's fine, but they cannot. That might be true, but that's a concept, right? They don't believe in God, so they cannot hate something they don't believe in. They hate the concept. But a person who actually hates God is a mesotheist. That is a type of theist, not an atheist. You have to accept God exists in order to hate Him, right? If not, you're just hating the concept, and that's a completely different thing. So when you say something like, well, an atheist hates God, you're actually making a huge category error. Huge. It's nonsensical at that point. And if you want to have a logical, rational argument, you can't invoke a logical contradiction, because an atheist cannot hate something they don't believe exists. That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing, hilarious. Here's the thing. Even if what you just said was true, that has nothing to do with evolution as a scientific theory. That's just a different tangent.
Sure.
I was trying to explain something, but then I got cut off. I was trying to explain why I believe in young Earth, but then I think you cut me off.
One thing about this whole evolution is a science. To deny evolution, you have to deny chemistry, genetics, because it works so well within all these other geology and all these other fields. It's not just denying this one piece; you're denying it all, and
right.
that I think
is every bit of science. Yeah, everything.
No, not true. Not true.
I can give you every branch of science that you have to say is wrong in order to accept a young Earth. I mean, it literally is every branch, including mathematics. It really is. But let's get on to your. I'm really curious about the rest of your list. If we get, like I said, I only got an hour left. So if you don't mind, can we real quick? Can you give us
what evidence has he provided so far? I've missed him actually presenting a single piece of evidence for young Earth.
I mean, I haven't been allowed to speak because we've been talking about other things. But before you were here, I was reading it from a list.
Do you want to pick? You want to just pick the next one in order? Or you want to pick the one you think is best out that list?
What's the point? What's the point? I mean, at this point, you're just saying every time I'm reading, you're like, nope.
We can explain to you why it's wrong. Are we supposed to say, oh yeah?
But that's your interpretation of why it's wrong. The other person thinks it's right, and they're using science to back up their view, and you're using science to back up your view.
No,
so there's no real clear answer.
You're not using science.
No, not me. The other person.
If I may,
hang on.
Steve.
Everybody's talking over each other. Listen to me very carefully. There's not us and the other side. There's science, right?
No, you think you're true science. How can you make yourself think
hilarious?
You can look into this yourself and and basically go, yes, you guys are right, and that's what I'm expecting you to do. But if you want to pick the next thing on there, I would like you to pick something that you think actually is good evidence, because again, there is no scientific claim that you can make for young Earth that I have not looked into that I don't think. If you have something
I'm not a scientist.
But you don't have to be. But something convinced you. Something says, oh, you know what? I'm going to believe you. Well, faith is fine, but science is science. Science doesn't involve faith. Science is more, hey, look, we can actually validate this. I mean, aren't you interested?
Yeah, a lot of scientific theories get wrong. They're wrong, and they're always revisited and reevaluated.
Can you name one scientific theory in modern science, which was an actual theory based upon what we have in modern science, was a theory that was wrong? Can you name one? Because I can't.
I mean, there was a theory that you can gain what's it called? You can gain intelligence and you can gain physical fitness from your genes, which is not true.
That was not a scientific theory. It never was. I asked for a scientific theory. Lamarck had an idea. But that was not a scientific theory. That was his conjecture.
Although there was an evolution theory of how a giraffe would stretch his neck loads of times.
That's Lamarckism. You're still on Lamarckism.
You have no understanding of science whatsoever, have you? You've no understanding of science whatsoever.
I was a guy named Lamarck.
Are you a scientist? No, are you a scientist? Are you a scientist?
I have a good understanding of science.
Oh, no, you have a good understanding. That's not good enough, mate.
You don't have any understanding of science.
Hang on. First of all, Rumpus has a degree in physics. General has a degree in physics. Hogtie is an ex-scientist. Daryl teaches science. Dragnut's going to school for biology. We all have some understanding of science, much greater than you, I assure you.
You don't have a degree in the Bible, man.
There's no such thing as
Wait,
What
Steve,
does that have to
Steve,
do-
hold on.
hold
Hilarious.
It's not a matter. It's not a
Do
matter.
you have a degree in the Bible? Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, studying it my whole
Do you
life.
have a doctoral degree in theology?
It's a matter of what you can demonstrate, right? And here's the
I have
thing.
a better question. What does a degree in theology have to do with understanding biology?
Nothing. Or science. Nothing.
Because the Bible's not a science textbook.
Right.
Once you understand
Yeah, because
that,
the devil doesn't want you to know the truth. Because the devil doesn't want you to know.
Maybe the devil doesn't want you to know the truth. You can use that argument ad nauseum, right? I mean, the science you're promoting, the young science is bad science. It was started by people who wanted to make money. That's it. People that wanted to make money.
I just think that's weird. I just think that's weird. Like the devil wants us to know about science, so he makes this happen. I mean,
yeah, and so he makes all the evidence point to an old Earth. That seems awfully odd. But anyways,
the greatest lie he ever told you is that there's no good.
So I mean, would you pick your best one out of that list that you think is good evidence? Because I'm curious.
I'm not a scientist. I don't
you don't have to be a scientist.
I don't understand carbon-14. I don't understand helium in radioactive rocks. I don't understand rapidly decaying magnetic field.
We do in here. A lot of us do. We understand carbon dating, right? And we're going to explain to people why these things, like remember the things that I showed you at the very beginning, these two claims, why they're wrong. And I can also explain to people why they don't understand why you can't carbon date things like millions of years old fossils. It just is nonsensical.
Right. So Hilarious' argument for the young Earth is just simply the Bible. That's it. End of story.
You interrupted me. What happens is they rely on the fact that people like you don't bother to actually learn the science correctly. And then you just say, well, I don't know about this, therefore, ergo, they must be right. We've taken the time to investigate these things. You should take the time yourself.
I don't care. My salvation is more important.
Ignorant.
Yeah, your salvation may not be
just like you are, that believing that there's no God.
But your salvation, I didn't say that. I'm not an atheist. But here's the thing: it doesn't matter whether there's a salvation or not issue or not. You're going to be held accountable in your own belief system, whether you promote false information or not.
No.
If God says, "Hey, look I have this beautiful thing that I came up with, and involved evolution. I have this beautiful thing with geology and astronomy and all this wonders," and you told people that all this was crap, he might have a thing to say about it if that's the case. So wouldn't you want?
I don't dedicate my channel to talking about old Earth, so I don't think it's a big problem with me. I don't really care about this. I don't even want.
But you don't care. Okay, so I just want to get us the record.
I told you it's not salvation. It's not salvation matter. It doesn't affect me.
That's right. So it's not salvation. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. Too.
No, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me either way.
That's fair. No, I get that, and I think it's very dishonest. I think it's showing people that young Earth creationists they don't care whether things are true or not.
Yeah,
it
doesn't care.
No, okay, can I ask you a question? What does it change, even if it's old or young, about description?
Because when people get to college and they start realizing that young Earth is wrong, they have a very hard time with their college classes because they're like, oh my God, this is complete nonsense. Everything I've learned is wrong. Now I got to relearn all this stuff correctly. And people, most of them become atheists at that point. But at the very least, it puts a hamper in their education. Right? I mean, obviously you have not been to college, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But I know a lot of people that have been to college that were ex-young Earth creationists. They're just lost in a lot of subjects because they are trying to use young Earth misinformation. And it doesn't work because they realize that they've been lied to all these years.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing, Hilarious. I mean, no one's saying you have to care about evolution or biology or anything like that. You don't have to care about science if you don't want to. That's not your field. But what you can't do is go into conversation and tell a person that that the science isn't correct, where you don't even understand like how the theory is even laid out or the evidence or how it's even being. How it actually works and how it influences other, like you just can't do that if you're not aware of it, if you're not literate in the subject. You understand?
Yeah.
Well,
Steve, this was you told me to come in here to discuss. You didn't tell me that I was going to come here and be attacked and just be cornered and everyone just pointing at me saying hilarious.
No. Nobody. First of all, this has been very moderated. People have been taking turns on making sure that nobody's walking over anybody else, including walking over me. So I'm making sure that's not happening. And you were to give us evidence. You only give us 3 things you thought were evidence. But even still, you don't even sure if they're evidence or not.
My
That's the
question
odd part.
my question to Hilarious would be this: you claim you're not a scientist, and you claim you didn't really pursue a high regard in scientific material. So why then did you hook, line, and sinker believe in people like Ken Hovind and all this Young's declarations,
Because
supposedly using science?
Because they are scientists.
Why did you accept that when you yourself don't even know the topic?
No, because they are scientists and they believe in
No, they're
my.
not.
Listen, hey, shut up.
Hey.
Be respectful, and Rumpus, don't just hang on. Go ahead. Okay, first of all, Hovind is not a scientist.
Okay, one second. So I want him
But
to
he said
respond.
he said he doesn't believe with Hovind anyway. So
Yeah, but let me answer the question. I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave this hangout. I'm gonna leave this hangout. Honestly.
You can leave. I mean, nobody's stopping you. Nobody's being toxic to you or anything. So I don't see what your problem is.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you a question, Steve.
You haven't even let me.
No. Why don't we let him answer the question? And then I want 1 second. I want him to respond, and then I'm going to ask him another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I was really interrupted. I was trying to say the reason why I kind of agree with Ken Hovind and Ken Ham and all these creationists that have studied science is because if you have to look at them personally, their worldviews are similar to my worldviews, so I can trust them in the sense that they're going to be linking it to the Bible. But if I trust someone, listen, oh my gosh, if I trust someone like Charles Darwin, if I trust someone like Bill Nye or someone that does not have the same worldviews as me, then I'm basically compromising, and I'm basically believing in their scientific theory based on their worldviews. I'm believing on a scientific theory.
Okay, hang on.
Okay.
Hang on. Don't yet. No, wait. Are you done?
No. My next question is very important.
Great, but I want to make sure he's done. Are you done?
He is done.
I just need to say this real quick before Ken Hovind has no scientific education at all. Go look at his resume. He has none.
Okay.
So you say.
Oh, he said it. No, he actually has told this. He actually has said this in his deposition for his court trials. He gave his entire educational history. He has some community college, and that's it. That's it completely.
I'm going to appeal to legitimate younger creationist scientists like John Hartnett and Danny Faulkner and all these guys. Now, so you're saying, okay, they are scientists, and okay, I agree in the sense that they do have legitimate peer-reviewed dissertations, PhD doctorates. But this is precisely my next question. Agree with their dissertations, with their PhD doctorates that advocate worldview.
Can you explain that in a simpler form?
Okay, so you said, so my question was, since you haven't had a formal education in science, therefore you still appeal to these people because not only do they appeal to the Bible, but you're relying on their authority as quote-unquote scientists because they have a doctorate next to their name. My next question is, their doctorates are actually based on an evolutionary worldview. So why then do you still appeal to them when their doctorates, at the end of the day, appeals to an old Earth, not a young Earth?
Yeah, but General, that's a queer question because you're basically asking him to refer to people he doesn't not familiar with and their position. He's only supporting the Ken Hovind position.
I didn't know that they doctrine was based upon the evolutionary view.
I didn't know that either.
Well,
the
sure it is.
evolutionary view. They started off as actually creationists, and then they moved on to the evolutionary view later on once they realized it, or they said that they was.
No, you wait a second.
No,
this is
no,
again,
General. So
I misunderstood what I was getting at. Earlier on,
Okay.
I was showing the rubidium strontium dissertation by Jim Mason, and he works for AIG, Answers in Genesis. Now, when you actually, so what I'm saying is when you look at Jason Lisle. So do you know who Jason Lisle is? Hilarious.
No.
He's a PhD physicist, astrophysicist.
Yeah, he works for Ken Ham. So you have Jason Lisle, Danny Faulkner, John Hartnett is for the Creation Ministries. I think it's CMI, Creation Ministries International. These guys, when you actually go to their PhD doctorates, they don't at all allude to young Earth creationism at all, or a young Earth's point of view. Is
younger creationists as a form of authority, that, oh, look, see, we have these people that declare the earth as young. Okay, let's look at their doctorates. And let's look at their, their research. Todd Wood, for example, would agree with me.
Well, General, let me ask you a question about what you just said. Would they have been able to receive their doctorates if they would have done their dissertation on younger creationism?
Yes, if it's
would
correct. Yes, why not? Sure.
I don't.
Well,
think
a lot
so.
of them already. A lot of them already had. A lot of them already had.
Science is science.
At the end of the day, at the end of the day, what is a doctorate? What is a dissertation? It's original research in a certain field, where it's kind of like then it goes through a peer review process. So this would be an absolutely. Is there a young earth creationist out there that has a doctorate that has original research demonstrating that the young earth position is indeed legitimate, even in a small context? The answer is no.
General Soha, I thought that people had doctrines before they even evolutionary theory, even because people was more so creationist back in the past.
Yeah. So Jason Lyle would be a perfect example where he was a young earth creationist, and he got at the same time he got his doctorate on the sun, sunspots. But his doctorate is not at all appealing to his model of young earth creationism. It's appealing to Big Bang cosmology.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's fine. But what I'm saying is is that you're making a assertion there that like that if everybody that has this doctrinate degree that they basically work they should hold this evolutionary view, when before then everybody that had a doctorate or some type of degree they was not evolutionists. That didn't come to later on.
Actually, okay. The thing was that a lot of the creationists, though, they weren't young earth creationists, right? You're conflating different things. We agree that people had PhDs and were old earth creationists, but we were asking, was there any young earth creationists that got a PhD because of something they had original research in young earth? The answer is no. There hasn't been one.
Right, but most yeah, there's plenty of them. The ones who got their degrees right now, the majority where they work from, these people were creationists and they came over to move to the point of being evolutionists. So
I think you're kind of missing the point. Did they do their PhD thesis in young earth creationism? Was it revolving around their views?
Right. The answer is no.
It probably was revolving around their views, because
we have every PhD on record. General has incorporated and found all of them for all the major PhDs that work for AIG and ICR. And General, does any of them involve anything to do with young earth creation?
What that means is the world prevailing, the prevailing, evidence at that time of view is something that people had to go through. I mean, that's the system. Maybe they had to go through that way. We face that situation every day. I mean, it does make a lot. It makes a lot of sense. For instance, there's systems. There's system. A person, how they classify something doesn't necessarily mean it is what they classified it as. It's just that's the world view, prevailing view at that time.
I don't think it's even possible to get a degree.
It makes no sense. But regardless, they needed original research for young earth, and the fact is they used old earth models that worked in order to get their PhD. And why do they use old earth models? Because they work. Simple as that. That's the reason why.
Geology, to study geology, do I need to use them? I'm sorry.
Hang on. They work. And in fact, I've talked to Dr. Todd Wood just recently. That's why he didn't want to defend Tompkins' work on human chromosome number 2, because he doesn't agree with it. Because he's like, yeah, all the evidence does point. If you read his blog, all the evidence points to evolutionary theory, that we came from prior species that go back several billion years. He admits this. He's a young earth creationist, but he says faith tells him, I don't know why. I can't explain it. I'm just going to have faith in God that there's an explanation for this. But even he won't lie and say there's no evidence for evolution modeling or an old earth. Go read his blogs, Dr. Todd Wood.
Presumably the key point that General is making is that even these people, even after they've done their degree and they go off to AIG, they still don't revert. It's not as though they were secretly believing in a young earth for their degree or their doctorate, whatever, and then If so, they would now reveal their true feelings. Presumably their true feelings, as articulated now, without restraint, with no censure, they are still not going for the young Earth creationist position. They hold to the position they held when they did their doctorate degree. So the point that Live is making is completely ridiculous. They presumably hold to the positions they held when they did the degree now, when they could articulate their true feelings if they chose to.
And if you ask Jason Lyle, he'll tell you that the big bang model works. He'll tell you this, that the big bang model is sound. He has done that on camera. I've heard him speak.
I think that there's two people. Well, they're scientists. First of all, they're scientists, and they take the information, they look at the data, and they just interpret the data differently. I don't think that they're not.
Here is AIG.
I was trying. Hey, let me finish. Let me finish. I don't think that it was not. I don't think that it's not that they're not scientists. They just interpreting the data different upon their worldview. Now, let me say this. Let me say this real quick, Steve. I want to ask you a question. I didn't get a chance to. Steve,
can I address real quick?
Okay, cool. Hilarious.
Because real quick, let me address what you just said, because cool. No, they don't.
Just let him speak, man. Let G speak.
Yes, he can ask a question, but let me address this first. They don't look at the data differently. Dr. Lyle will actually say the data indicates an old universe. He'll even say the Big Bang model works. So it's not a difference.
Dr. Snelling and also Gentry.
Hang on. What he says is that there might be an explanation of why it appears to be old, and he came up with something called asynchronous light. But unfortunately, there's so many technical problems with that, we could spend days on it. And if Jen and I ever want to hang out on that, we can actually look more detail and explain to you people why asynchronous light is just completely nonsensical.
Right.
But it's not how they wait, let me finish. It's not how they're interpreting the data. It's how they're trying to come up with an ad hoc explanation to explain
and not just that, but they're using their doctorate.
Hold on, come on, brother Soha, man. You know I was next, man. That's not fair, man.
Just let G speak, man.
Go ahead. But I just want to explain real quick. That's the difference.
You keep bringing up this one doctor. You know what I'm saying? You're not talking about what Gentry faced to his situation, and also what Dr. Snelling, what they was dealing with, as well as Humphrey now. Now I want to say this to you, Steve, because I feel like Halrious feels this way too, and I think if you notice, when I want to talk to somebody, I bring them in and I discuss a topic with them. I don't, and you can do things the way you do because we're different people. But I think that he feels like that he's been jumped on, and other people have felt that way too. Do you ever think that you should talk to these people one-on-one? That it might be more.
I didn't know he wanted a one-on-one.
Right. It might be more constructive.
Wait. Let me hang on. I said you can invite anybody you want besides G-Man. He said, fine. I said, well, I'll find a bunch of people. We'll get, full hangout. This was very well known from the get-go. And he could bring anybody he wanted in here. So that's you can't say anything about that.
Right. No, but I'm just saying, I feel like.
But
he didn't let him finish. He didn't let him finish, though.
He asked me a question. I'm answering.
No, I wasn't really finished. I think that it'd be more constructive, to be honest. That's all I'm saying. Because what happens is these guys, they begin to cut people off, and it gets a little bit rude. And this is why me and you kind of started off on a bad relationship, because they was cutting me off and it was agitating.
Okay, well, this isn't about you right now, so let's go back to that.
No, I'm just saying, what Halrious is in here. What do you think about that, Halrious?
You're making a very good day.
I'm going to answer this. Did I not tell you?
He's asked me a question.
No, he asked me a question first, and I'm going to answer it. Were you unaware there'd be a bunch of people in here that I said that we're going to invite, whoever, and you can invite whoever, and we have a fair and equal balance of theist and atheist? Did I not tell you this prior to this?
You didn't say fair, equal balance. You just said invite whoever you want. Don't try and add anything. I told you to be theist. I said, people like Jen Hall and Solo. I said there might be Fiona, might be Jade. We have a very you didn't say that.
I did most certainly told you.
I can screenshot the chat if you want.
No, I told you in before. I told you when I first invited you in Wolf's Hangout that my channel was a whole bunch of people, mostly a lot of theists, talking about this stuff. Right? I mean, Wolf, did I not bring it to his attention when you guys were even saying, "Oh, well, everybody on Steve's channel is an atheist," and we said, "No, that's not the case." Right? So, but that's
surely the premise.
Let's just get back to the discussion.
No, but G-Con was asking me a question.
Surely the idea is that you're supposed to. Can I not? I've had one sentence in quarter mile.
No, it doesn't matter what you say.
We have a record.
It's hilarious. supposed to be presenting us with evidence for young Earth creationism. I've seen no evidence or argument for it so far in the hour I've been
You
here.
haven't been here. You haven't been here. You've only just come like an hour ago.
Well, you haven't given any evidence. But,
Well,
but
I think Dr. Gentry makes a great case about the radio halos and also the helium diffusion.
Which I can address as well. And so
I would like to have that conversation with you, you know, one-on-one if we can do so.
I don't have time for that, to be honest with you. That'd take too long for me to really research. That's fine. But I don't want to. I did it a long time ago, and I have a debate to prepare for and other things, and I really don't want to go into that much detail. But General, you might be able to have a discussion with him.
Right, I would like to have that conversation with General. I've been trying to have a conversation with him a long time now, and it has not happened.
All right, can we get back to Halrious? He asked you a question. Do you want to answer G's question, please?
Yeah, G, I honestly agree with. I mean, I didn't expect it was. I didn't think it was going to be like this, man. It's just been a mess today.
Well, I apologize, and I'm sorry you feel that way. So with that,
No, it's not you, Steve. No, Steve, you're not.
I've been trying very hard to make sure that people are not jumping over each other, and I think you've been treated very well. I think people have been addressing you very respectfully. I think that they've asked you for evidence, which you failed to provide consistently. And I think it's very disingenuous for you to say that there's a problem with the Hangout when everybody in here has been more than fair to you. More than fair.
Well, actually, Steve, he's not the only one. He's not the only one, Steve. It's other people.
Well, that's fine.
But
again, I think he's being very disingenuous by saying that. I think he's just following.
Right. Well, there's 2 or more witnesses that's saying these things.
Well, that's fine. I got how many witnesses do I have that disagree with that?
Right.
Would everybody in the Hangout?
I'm just saying it. I'm saying for.
Let's take a poll vote. Because it's your claim. Can we take a poll for those in the Hangout and the 62 people that are watching right now? Okay, 62 people that are viewing this. Can we take a poll? Was he treated fairly? Was Halrious treated in such a way where he could provide evidence that we can address it in due course and get everybody to have a conversation and one at a time address him, and that was very properly moderated? Can we take a straw poll? All you got to say is yes or no. That's all you got to say. So we're going to do it in here first. Daryl, go first. Do you think?
No, but that's not what G Con was saying. You didn't let him finish. He was already trying to do a vote. Give him a few minutes to speak.
Yeah. I think to Steve. I think that he's your guest. He's your guest, Steve. That's the thing.
What do you want the question to be, G?
Well, hold on. Okay, so listen. If I invited you to my house,
what do you want the question to be?
I'm asking you a question right now.
No, G-man, G consciousness. What do you want the questions to be? I'm not going to let you take over the Hangout. Give me the question you want me to have a straw poll. Straw poll.
Just let him speak.
What is the question? Do you want that he was treated fairly? Did he give time to speak? Did he have time to make his case? What do you want the straw poll to be, G?
How do you treat your guests? I mean,
that's not a question.
Just let him speak.
They are.
We are, but he's not answering the question.
That is the question. How do you treat your guests? Is it based upon how the people on your panel feel, or upon how your guests feel?
Can you be a little more specific?
I mean, it explains why G-Man and a lot of other people don't want to come in here.
Well, G-Man's not welcome in here, but that's beside the point. We have more viewers.
That's my question.
We have more viewers watching right now than everybody combined in the rest of the G-Bus community.
So that's my question to you, Steve.
So, G, just ask a balanced question.
I'm trying to ask you the question, but y'all keep cutting me off.
Well, you're not answering the question. This is why I keep getting annoyed with you.
Okay, hold on. Let's give him 2 minutes to speak. Hold on, Steve. Hold on, Steve. Give him 2 minutes to say whatever he needs to say. So he can't complain that no one's saying anything.
2 full minutes, and I will time you. You have 2 full minutes to say anything you want. Go. Not anybody says a word in these 2 minutes until I interrupt. Go ahead.
I'm just going to ask you a question. The question is this: is this how you treat your guests, as opposed to how the people on your panel feel, or your guests who you invited in the room? The people on your panel have already been here already. So if I invited you to my house as you being my guest, I would treat you better than he's been treated tonight and how he wants to be treated. I think that y'all should, if you want to be more effective, that's all I'm saying. You're going to do what you want to do. I'm just telling you that, brother. That's it.
Okay, what's your question?
You think I asked you a question.
The question is, did I treat him fairly? That's the question. So that's where we're going to go. So we're going to do a straw poll.
All right.
So Darrow, did I treat him fairly? Was he treated fairly in here as a guest?
Yeah, he was treated very fairly. I mean, I haven't spoken purely because
I just want a yes or no, because I'm really running out of time, guys.
Yes.
All right, so Dragnot, General, was he treated fairly? And you're a Christian. Was he treated fairly?
Yeah, he was.
Multiple personality, was he treated fairly?
Yes.
Nestlig, was he treated fairly?
Yes.
Pseudo, was he treated fairly?
Yes.
You're going to say no anyways. You're a contrarian. All right, so yes. Rumpus, was he treated fairly?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to ask the live feed. All the 63 people are watching. What do you guys think? Drew says he was treated fairly. It's going to take some time to catch up. There is a.
Is this a waste of
So
time? Steve? Let's
not a waste.
People do that.
Give Hilarious
Because I want to
a minute to say what he wants to say, and then let's take it from there.
Okay, so Nathar, yes, Steve, you did treat him more than fair. Yes, Housewife says yes. Rational Martin says yes. So Tyler Turton says yes. Shar says yes. Sarah says yes, motherfucker. Blaster says yes.
Steve, why not let Hilarious, while this is going on, why not let Hilarious speak while let people vote on the side chat? Let Hilarious speak.
No, I want to point out, I want to get this on record because the live chat doesn't carry over. Lamed says yes. George Mayer says yes. Mr. Slayer says yes. Andrea says yes. Heavy Holler says yes. Hogtie says yes. And the hangout continues on my channel. Yes, you can continue on your Hogtie your channel because I have to go to the store, but I will watch it later. Hannah says yes. So Nathan says yes.
I think we have the idea. I think we
have got the idea, Steve. I think we'll let Hilarious speak.
Oh yeah, let's let her speak. Let's see. Let's let her speak.
Consciousness. Can you explain why everybody besides you and him get this impression that he was treated unfairly when everybody who's watching, and not all of them are atheists. Matter of fact, most of them probably are somewhere in the middle between agnostic and theist. It depends. Why? See, this is what I'm saying, but you guys, you don't seem to have the same ability to look at things as other people consciousness, because your perception is way off because he was not treated unfairly.
Well, hold on. See, now, first of all, Hilarious stated this himself. And when he stated it, I said the same thing. And not only that, is also One Drop and other people have said the same thing about you.
And they're wrong.
So hold on. Okay, hold on. See, that's what I'm saying. You're
cutting him off now. You keep cutting him off.
We addressed
Steve, just let him speak.
You asked me a question. The only thing I'm saying is this is your guest.
And we treated him with
invited
respect.
him. Hold on. No, listen. This is your guest.
You said that before, G.
Okay, you are. Yeah, see, this is why G.
You're cutting him off. Let's just speak.
Hilarious. Let the guy speak.
Loud noises.
Okay. Anyways, Hilarious. You're yelling. I'm muting everybody. G, you're parroting yourself over and over again. This is why you really are a hangout killer, because you say the same things 5,000 times and then say, "Let me speak." So, G, you have 1 minute to say whatever you want. Then I'm asking you to leave so I can make room for Hannah. So finish it up. And then moving on. So, G, do you have anything else you want to say? Because I want to make sure everybody gets equal time. Anybody can say whatever they want.
Actually, I wanted to discuss. I wanted to have a discussion about the young Earth, about certain things. So why are you removing me?
Okay, we can do it another time. This was for Hilarious, not for you. We can do it another time on the next hangout. You want to do that?
Hilarious. Would you like me to be here with you? And
yes, you can. Dude,
G, Con. I agree with everything you're saying, man. I just feel like it's unfair because you're trying to speak and Steve is cutting you off.
I am cutting him off because he's saying the same things over again. So
and you were even talking smack about him earlier, saying, he always takes over the hangouts.
Well, anyways, he does. He actually does do that. He's done that in my hangout. So
he's out of here. So Hannah, would you like to come in?
Yeah, I'm gonna go now. I'm going now because G's going. I'm going.
Okay, so here's the thing.
Well, let me say goodbye to my guest. Let me say goodbye to my guest. Hilarious. Oh, see, this is what I'm saying by disrespectful. Someone's treated very fair, and they don't even say thank you for anything. This is what I'm saying by people who really don't want to have a dialogue.
Before he leaves.
Yes, go ahead.
He already left.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Well, so I think the point, I know G Consciousness is still watching. The point that he tries to make is that, well, do you treat people how they want to be treated or how your guests feel? If you come over my house, and I used to host parties all the time. That's one of the things I enjoy doing. If you,
I am cutting him off because he's saying the same things over.
Oh,
Jade, you got it. Life.
He always takes over the hangouts.
Well, he does.
I got it. Go ahead.
I got me. Okay, so if anyone knows, if you come over my house, you will be treated to food and entertainment. Some of that entertainment may, in fact, be at your expense. You will get made fun of. It is fair. If I have a guest over who does not know that, they will probably be told that and forewarned, which I'm sure Hilarious has, because this is not his first time here. If he does not like that, he can see himself to the door. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you come over to my house and you shit all in my backyard. I'm gonna have an issue with that, right? He was treated with respect, and what G likes to do is he tries to like change the direction of the hangout to try to get into more of an emotional issue. Halrious was doing just fine until G destroyed the hangout, which is fine because there was I only have so much longer anyways. That's why I did let it go. But I mean, nobody can say that they didn't have plenty of time to make their arguments, plenty of time to make their case. But I'll tell you right here and now, everybody who's listening, I will not allow somebody to repeat themselves 5,000 times and then say they don't have a chance to talk. It's not going to happen because all G will do is say the same things 10,000 times. And at that point, I put the kibosh on it. Yes, and I always will. FYI. So Hogtie, did you want to finish up?
Yeah, I want to pimp my. So I'm just getting the Hangout set up now. I will post the watch link and the join links as much as I can. I will specifically invite GCon and Halrious Zulu, and we'll start this discussion about fairness and Hangouts, and then we'll go on to sort of pick up your topic. So everybody's invited.
Good luck. Can you put it in the side chat? The link in the side chat.
We'll do so. Yeah.
That's fine. Good luck with it.
What is this happening now?
Well, Hogtie's going to have another hangout here in a few.
Yeah, he's ending this one. I think Dress was trying to say something.
Yeah,
Well, actually, I was going to make a 300-pound guy chicken joke, so it's not that funny.
Oh, you guys interrupted it. Could have been a great joke.
I really, yeah, Hannah, you can come in. I really want people to be aware of, this is the perception that they have compared to what was actually reality. There's no disrespect going on with him. People were not piling on to him. People were asking him questions, and he failed to provide a single shred of substantial evidence to support a position. And I get that, right? He's very young, very, very inarticulate, and very, very uneducated. This is a downfall to why young Earth creationists fall prey to this kind of stuff. G takes advantage of this because G likes to be
likes to stir the shit. That's what he likes to do.
Stir the shit, right? And that's fine. I mean, if you notice, I allowed G to be in here the entire time, right? So, anyways, Hannah, what do you think? I mean, did you think? I mean, you're more critical about me than anybody. Was I unfair to him in any way?
Oh, no, sorry. Hold on, let me just. This is the mic that's quiet, so just give me a second.
It's not bad.
Can we just turn her up?
Yeah, because this mic is much louder.
Sick bastard. Oh, turn her up. Sorry.
Not today.
The mic is a problem, but I was just trying to say in the live chat, like he wasn't special. Everybody was over talking each other. It's a full hangout. You know what I mean? So people are just gonna try to jump in and have a conversation. So if he was overtalked a little bit, so was everybody else. Literally, this is your hangout. You were overtalked. Rumpus was, Han Solo, everybody was. So that he and G were no special cases. So the fact that
that's normal. That's normal at the size, right, Hannah? I mean, you would agree that once people start over talking, I rein people in because you will have a natural course of action. I mean, yeah, any hangout you're gonna have some. Sure.
This time you were trying. You were like, listen, hey guys, listen, I'm trying to take control here. Give me a second, But every time you tried to take control, then it seemed like they were taking that opportunity, that break in the lull, to be like, hey, let me inject something really quick on top of what you're saying.
Right.
And I was actually.
And I noticed that as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
But
don't think I missed the personal shots at General Han Solo earlier either.
Oh, I mean, it's so funny because it's like, oh, you all hate God. And it's like, General doesn't hate God. Jade, I'm sure, doesn't hate God.
I've never had a conversation with Zulu, like in a hangout like this, what we're doing. But I've had a conversation with him and Shadow while we were in in Christian Anarchist hangout. And he was really aggressive too. And I'm not saying that I didn't take shots at him. I did take shots when I realized like he literally believes in pretty much every conspiracy ever known to man. But my God,
really?
he got
all that. He's not a flat earther.
It was really bad. It was really bad. It was hard to have a conversation because it was just every single time. I was like, well, that's your opinion. I just believe these things.
Interesting.
Well, do you just believe that the Earth is flat too? No, of course he's like, no, that's ridiculous and stuff like that. But
that's where we draw the line.
Other stuff was just getting over the top, and me and Shadow were just poking fun, not to be overly mean, but just like this is just funny between the two of us, and we haven't talked in a long time, so it was like But then he got super aggressive, and he went to Antonio's hangout saying that I'm dishonest and all this other stuff. So the kid, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
he's
I
a very young
guarantee.
guy.
Mark my
I
words.
like he doesn't know how this works.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, mark my words, they're gonna be like, "Oh, let's go to G-Man's channel and explain how bad they were treated in my hangout." And I want everybody witnessing to this that this wasn't happening. And so to me, that's bearing false witness. It really is. It's breaking the 9th commandment. Because I mean, I don't think in his right mind could he ever make a case that he was treated poorly. That's just,
anytime you disagree with these people, it's you hate God and you're treating them unfairly. It's you can't refute any of their points without them retreating to this.
I think when they make statements like Ken Ham is a scientist and Kent Hovind is a scientist, I think that's just not something you can let go. That's just too outrageous.
By the way, Steve, I got a question.
The red flags were
I have a
coming
question for Steve. When you mentioned that Ken Hovind had to sit down in court and lay out his whole educational background, did he happen to mention or have to mention where he was a high school teacher?
Yeah. There was no mention of high school that he ever taught at. He taught at 4 Baptist universities, or not university, Baptist churches. They were the back room. They're basically a little room that he would teach high school level students.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But it never covered what he taught them.
Creation science.
Okay.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, he was never a science teacher. He never taught in the public school system.
Never.
He went to I think 2 years of Liberty of college, in basically a community college. He has no master's level, no PhD level, and he never taught public school and he never taught public science. Period. That is on record. You can go validate this. This is not.
So it was like he was hired or came in to do
his supposed dissertation
homeschooling. Is what he was doing at those churches, probably like a homeschooling thing.
Oh no, he was teaching them like, okay, if you've been to church, they usually have these little foyer rooms, right? Foyer rooms, and basically he was just teaching them that man walked with dinosaurs, and that's his idea of teaching science.
Oh,
okay. I'm not kidding. That's it. Seriously. So, but anyways, Jimmy, General, do you have something to say before I got to bring this to a close?
Yeah, Steve. Red flags were the red flags were going up. I honestly thought that when we were offline before we went online. I never spoke to him before. I don't know who he is, and I thought he would be one of those respectful, like he seems calm and collective, and so I thought it'd be a really good discussion. And then red flags were going up when he started speaking about Adam being 15 feet, the Nephilim, giants, stuff like that. Immediately, I'm thinking, okay, what? And then Hannah is pretty much, thinking right at the start.
Kind of guy or nutter.
Yeah. I mean, he really I wish I had to hang up. I'm on an Unreal Engine right now, so I can't bring it up. But the amount of stuff that Shadow was telling me he believes, and he was pretty much confirming it too. He was like, "Yeah, and you can't prove it's not this case," type of language. And I thought, "Holy fuck, man!" And now this is the first time I'm hearing him. So now he sounds like, I guess, like maybe Josiah's age, like what, 16, 17 years old?
No, maybe. I really don't know, to be honest with
you. So I'm not going to go too hard on the guy. He's still got a long life to live. So I'm going to take it a little bit.
He kind of reminds me of Matthew Sclediastes.
Well, maybe, but Matthew.
Yeah, not very educated and just throws his shit out there.
Yeah, he's I'm assuming he still's got a long way to go in his educational career anyway, right? Like I don't know if he's even out of high school yet. So as far as I'm concerned,
honestly,
I don't want to be too hard on him. I don't want to seem like we're being overly aggressive, but when he starts bringing up answers in Genesis questions and saying, "Oh, you're just dismissing everything I'm saying," well, why are you bringing up these evidences if you don't want them challenged, right? If you don't want them to be spoken about, right?
I think it's just a part of the rhetoric. It's a part of the rhetoric that a lot of these guys have, and I've noticed that they don't really look into these claims because they expect the pushback. They want the pushback so they can then say, "Oh, well, there we go. Now on to step 2. Since you guys have denied all this bullshit that I've tried to throw at the walls, you had got." Like, you saw how easy he just went to that. He instantly went to that because he wasn't when Hogtie actually took the time to say, "You know what? Yada yada yada," the whole Hogtie spiel. Sorry, Hogtie, I had to cut that down. But we got.
What if Hogtie could ever do that? Take an hour and put it on.
Even try to address that. It wasn't. You didn't even attempt it, and that's what told me, because I was waiting. I was waiting for him to at least acknowledge what Hogtie had said. Didn't even fucking try. So that to me tells me that it's just bullshit. It's a part of the spiel, and I agree with Hannah. He's young. He really does not understand a lot of the stuff that he's, professing. He knows that, well, G consciousness agrees with me, so that's a good thing. No, kid, that's a terrible thing. This motherfucker agreed to ancient chocobo fucking people in my hangout with it. So if that's the caliber,
don't know what that is, but it sounds funny.
That's chocobo is a bird in a video game on Final. It's a Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy, right?
Oh, okay.
It's a Final Fantasy reference, and he agreed that ancient chocobo people exist.
The funniest thing is you started naming random in one hangout. I remember you started naming Final Fantasy characters as Dr. Cloud Strife, and
he still agreed to it. Like that's the kind of shit. Like I'm not. That's the tactic that you have to use because they are so unscrupulous. That's the only way to really expose it. Because if you here's facts, here's evidence. Here's General Han Solo, who is a Christian, who took the fucking time to learn all these goddamn languages and to actually enjoy his religion and show that not all Christians are just this easily swept under the rug. It's like it's like I feel it's a slap in the fucking face, and it's not even my fucking religion, but it's just crazy. This is the caliber of people that you deal with, and it's just so fucking funny.
Wow.
What I thought was awful. Just a quick one. That I thought was particularly awful was when he was basically saying, well, if reality and somehow impinged upon your religious beliefs, sod the reality, I'll just ignore that. It challenges, I have to compromise, which is trying to reject any sort of challenge for fear of what it's doing to your belief system. Well, unfortunately, I'm afraid that's what you have to deal with. And if reality is the conflict between reality and what the Bible says, I'm afraid he took the option of, well, I'm just going to ignore the reality, the arguments, the evidence, the science, that he regarded that as a compromising of his position. Well, if that's his position, if that's his attitude,
it's not an easy thing to do, right? It's not an easy thing to do to admit that your worldview probably needs to be modified or changed to fit the evidence, right? Like it's more comfortable to stick with what you know, to what you think you know, as opposed to having to constantly be malleable, right? So
but he was quite adamant. I mean, he put a barrier there. He said that if there was this evidence of reality that would challenge them, that people shouldn't compromise their beliefs. I mean, this is the Ken Ham line, isn't it? If there's a conflict between science and the Bible, you go with the Bible.
Beliefs can't be challenged, and you really don't have any really valid beliefs.
I agree with that, but it makes. I understand why he thinks that way, given what I think is his age, because I don't think he's really had.
Oh yeah, I appreciate why, but
yeah, that's what I think.
But I mean, this is what I noticed.
You're gonna have to make a decision, right, between being honest to yourself, to what what you're able to verify, what you know to be true, and what you just want to believe because you want to, right? Like you could have a religion based on faith. That's totally reasonable.
Most of it is, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be challenged. You can say you want to believe it.
Yes, but
that's fine.
Yeah, but if there's a conflict with reality, then you've got to at least anybody with a vague sort of critical, skeptical sort of approach to life would think, well, there's a problem here. What am I going to do about it? Not just say I'm going to ignore all this other evidence in the world. You're basically denying the world.
That opportunity, though. That's my assumption. Again, I'm being extremely charitable here.
But I got to wrap this up, guys. So, but here's the thing. I think it's really cool that it was really cool that he came in here, and unfortunately he left with a sour note, only because he was being challenged, and maybe for him not to expect him to be challenged is kind of odd. I gave him exactly the heads up of what this was like and things of that nature. But I think Dragnot probably summed it up the best when he's talking about this rhetoric, and that's what it is. This is the go-to rhetoric that they have when they're backed against the wall. That's we see it time and time again. This is their, oh, you hate God, or you just jumping on me. This is what we see, and it's unfortunate, but it is something that we do deal with all the time. With these people don't understand that it's nothing personal to them. We're addressing their claims, right? And that's it. And the rhetoric fallback is, oh, you're not addressing the claim. You're not listening to it. You're persecuting me because you hate God. It's just mind-boggling. But anyways, I want to thank everybody who's listening. Hawkeye is going to have an after show, it probably starting in the next few minutes. I just want to tell everybody there is a debate going on this Sunday at 1 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Central. That'd be 9 o'clock in Europe, between True Empiricism and myself. It is going to be on what best describes natural systems, evolution, or intelligent design. I don't like the title, but it is what it is. So I think the title's kind of silly, but so make sure we watch that. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it's going to be on. It's going to be on General Han Solo's channel. So I'm sure he'll be very fair and moderate it very well. So I want to thank everybody who's joined us today. We had a huge amount of listening people. We had like 70, I think, was the peak. So go ahead and like this video if you did like it. leave comments, and we're going to try to be more, do more like this. But I want to make sure that everybody who recognizes that he was treated fairly, leave so in the comment what you think, because I mean, I tried to take people's feedback, and I got to tell you right now, I saw nothing of him being mistreated in any way, shape, or form. I really didn't. And I mean, if somebody can point to an instance where he was, I would really like to know. Because if anything, he probably was a little more aggressive than anybody by saying people just hate God and stuff like that, than anybody really coming down on for his beliefs. So with that, I'm going to end the hangout, and I thank you guys for watching as always, and I will see you guys the next day or two. Okay? Good night.